け出してって抜け出してって悲しすぎる運命からあなたは奈落の花じゃないそんな場所で
Secret. Or you share Osama. He's watching all of us.
It's not real.
It's definitely real. Don't talk like that. He's gonna curse you.
It's a little annoying little god thing, and it doesn't do anything.
Oh, well. All right. So, yeah, last week. Oh, first off, this is the kind of anime podcast where we kind of talk about anime, except we always talk about anime because, yeah, there ain't shit else to talk about because nothing else is going on in either of our lives, I don't think, outside of work.
Kind of anime.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So, except always. Anyway, I'm Lawns, your host, and across from me, and not across from me, is the co-host David Bullock, the DC Kanye stan.
What's good, y'all?
Yeah.
What's goody in the hoodie?
He's a little inebriated right now.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. So, yeah. Last week we talked about, or last week, I say last week, it was like 2 weeks ago, I think. We talked about Higurashi, the original Higurashi. And I guess we talked about up until episode 15, I think. 16. Episode 16, we gave our thoughts on and predictions. I think for the most part, we were pretty wrong on what we thought about it. Because I thought it was some actual supernatural shit going on. I mean, there was, but there wasn't.
Okay. Supernatural. Okay. If you like have like my screen up, what I think of Higurashi, right? Mm-hmm. It's supernatural when it comes to the time loop.
Yeah, and the fact that there's a little girl that's a reincarnation of a god.
Stupid.
I don't think it's stupid. Like, I just think it's
the first season,
supernatural part of it.
But the first season of Higurashi was so Higurashi. It was so good. Like it had you like on edge each cycle, and each episode revealed like another layer to the plot. Versus with the second season, Higurashi Kai, the first episode of the second season, like that had my attention. I was like, oh my God, like the world that they live in, the cycle is like a quantum flux, meaning it is a world that is in constant flux that can generate multiple futures that all have like if you can survive the loop, like whatever past you can imagine, it's real. I was like, oh my God, I was so interested in it. But as the seasons progress and like you finally understand like what was going on and why it was happening, it's like it kind of got like a little lackluster, and like and the last couple of episodes it was just a little too convenient for my taste in anime. Well, but I mean,
you jumped way ahead there. But okay.
I just gave my whole summary of the whole thing.
You really did. I thought we were gonna, go arc by arc up until that point, but okay.
Yeah, now we can go into detail. Now, give an abstract, and then now you can go into detail.
Well, I guess I'll give my opinion on between season 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I will say I like season 1 better, but it's not to say I didn't like season 2. Season 2 to me just had a weak ass ending overall. I agreed with David that everything that happened towards the end was a bit convenient. Everything worked out a little too well, especially considering all the shit that happened up until this point. And I get it, maybe that's just what they were going for in the first place. But I don't know, it just felt like the fact that nobody... You know what? Never mind. We'll get to that. We'll get to it because
now we can get into detail.
I want to talk about that in like super detail, but we'll get to those last 5 episodes in a minute. First off, we're gonna start off where we left off with which arc was this?
This was the
I'm trying to remember the name of it. I just don't remember the name.
I don't.
They all have names. Yeah, they all have names.
I think we stopped on episode 16.
Yeah.
Right.
Of the first season. This is basically, for people who know, it's the arc where we get the POV of Shion, who is Mion's sister. Now, let me go ahead and start this off with this. So who we know as Shion is actually Mion, and who we know as Mion is actually Shion.
So this arc was the
no, because I let me tell you, there's a lot of switching that goes on, right? Mm-hmm. We know that. It's to a point where Shion starts posing as Mion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get this. Shion, who starts posing as Mion, is actually Mion.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since the beginning. Even before
So this arc takes place interspliced with, like, I think the second arc?
Yes. It's from the perspective of you know what? For all intents and purposes, we're just gonna call it Shion. From the perspective of Shion.
Yeah, this arc takes place during the third arc, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that the third arc? No, that was the second arc. The second arc was with the one with Keiichi. Well, to Keiichi, Mion was tripping, and it was when Rika did her expert detective skills.
Yeah.
That's the second arc, but we had it from Keiichi's perspective instead of
and then
Shion.
And then Shion starts shaking that ladder.
Yeah, I mean, we see it again, but this time, this part is from the. We go back to episode 6, I believe, which is the second arc, except from the perspective of the crazy person this time. So, basically, we see Shion. She used to live in a school or whatever. She was a boarding school because the way the Sonozaki family works is that whoever the firstborn child is supposed to be the new clan head. They ended up having twins.
Which is stupid.
Well, I mean, one of them has to be the clan head.
I know one of them has to be the clan head, but like,
yeah, you don't have to kill the grandmother.
Yeah, the grandmother was literally about to kill a baby because we can't have two. We can't have two. We can't have a spare.
Now, here's my thing. Knowing what we know about the show now, how much of that was actually true that they killed the other baby? Because it seemed like it would seem like if they had to kill the other baby, right? Why is it that when she shows up, they don't immediately try and kill her? Like, were they aware of they were aware of her being alive? So
I think it was either the paranoia kicking in, because I don't think they really. I don't know.
Maybe back in the day, like way back in like their timeline, like back before the 80s, probably in like the 1800s, maybe early 1900s. Maybe they used to do that. But I think that was a tradition that kind of just like, fuck it, we'll just banish the other one.
Because she's still
carries
a human being.
But yeah. She still carries the Sonozaki name, but she's not going to be the head. She's just going to fuck off somewhere else, except for in other timelines where she is apparently in the village, and it's okay.
Which doesn't really make sense, but okay, sure, why not?
It's different worlds. That's all I know. Some things are I don't honestly know, but moving on from that. So Shion shows up in town. She meets Satoshi. She falls in love with Satoshi on day one after he pats her head. Her love interest thing, I don't understand. That's the thing that got me.
He gave her an hour of affection, like, oh, and then she fell in love.
Now, I'm thinking that might be in part due to it being an anime adaptation of a visual novel, because I'm sure there was a lot more nuance behind that. I'm sure there was. She couldn't have just. I mean, well, who knows? I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that there was a lot more to it than just what we saw in the anime. But I'll just go ahead and say, it's fucking anime. Who cares? She fell in love at first sight, whatever. Of course, Satoshi goes through his bullshit of snapping and beating the shit out of his aunt with a metal bat.
Because abuse is a thing.
Well, yeah, and I guess she shouldn't have been a bitch.
And then, like, he just disappears and she goes crazy.
Oh, no. Let's not skip to the crazy shit. No. There's a little bit more build up to that. Because remember, before we even get to that scene, she has to fucking take them nails off. It's because she insulted the head of the family. And it was like, oh, you can't just do that.
No. I was like, and at that point, I was literally saying, Lonnie, fuck this town. This town is shitty people.
Oh no, I love it.
I hated it. I was like, and then they made you watch her nails come off. I'm like, what is happening? And then like she just goes insane.
I mean,
because like her punishment wasn't enough to like save her. In her mind, it wasn't enough to
save Satoshi. It wasn't because she was doing it to absolve of her crimes, Satoshi's crimes, and Kasai's crimes. But there was one other person too. It was her uncle, also. Mm-hmm. But they didn't tell her that. They didn't tell her that. Oh, you only did it for those three. You didn't do it for Satoshi. But they didn't do anything to Satoshi in the first place. They make it seem like that throughout the show up until season 2. They make it seem like the Sonozaki's disposed of Satoshi, and that's what Shion runs with. She's like, "Oh, you guys always do some dirty shit. So you know what? I don't even put it past you that you killed him after I went through what I went through to save everybody. Fuck all y'all." So yeah, that's when that seed gets planted in her head. After that nail scene, and she finds out that Satoshi went missing anyway. That's when the seed plants, but she doesn't go crazy, not yet. She goes crazy after. Once again, I told David this before. He brought it up in the previous podcast as well. The doll. That day, that doll got given to Mion. I mean, not Mion. Given to Reina instead of Mion. And Mion went home and she talked to her sister about it. And she's how sad she was that she couldn't, win over her crush or anything. Her crush doesn't recognize her as a girl. And Shion went back to the past with her and Satoshi. And that just brought something out of her. It awakened the demon.
And I'm like, and when she explained it like that, it made it seem like this demon was like this supernatural being that, at first I thought it was like, this demon brings out the worst in people, but like it's random. So like, and then after that, she like gets a taser and becomes like an electric type. So she just basically tases the world and like.
Oh, she put in work with that fucking taser. She wasn't playing games.
When I saw the lightning arc from that taser, I said, "My God!"
That was a fucking cattle prod.
Boy, man! I was like, man, she took her whole family apart.
Oh yeah. Oh no, she's not even just the family. She butchered everybody. Like she killed the fucking town headman. Like she strung his ass up. She strung his ass up by his neck and interrogated him. And he never said anything, so he just like choked out. For Rika, I mean, I understand why she did what she did.
She made her watch.
Oh man!
Wait, what did she do? I forgot what she did to Rika.
Rika,
the knife.
Yeah, Rika. Well, she didn't do that to Rika. Rika did it to herself because Rika fucked up and got poisoned by that fucking needle. And she was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna let you take me out. I'm just gonna take myself out. Fuck this shit. You're not gonna torture me to death. No, I know how you act." And I will say, out of everybody, I think Shion might be the scariest one. Cause she like, and it made sense with her because she killed at least 2 people up until that point, and then she watched Rika destroy her own self. So by that point, when this is when we get to the like, and then after she kills Satoko, which that was fucking brutal as fuck, and made her sister watch that shit.
Just nailed her to the cross, and then just took her apart, just disassembled her with that knife. I was like, oh my God.
Her slow descent into fucking madness was probably one of the best things out of the whole. That's probably my favorite arc out of the whole show, was her descent into madness. And it made sense because she killed so many people in such brutal ways that it made sense that she was getting crazier and crazier as it went along. Like, not only do you have this Hinamizawa syndrome to combat, you're also killing a bunch of people, so your psyche is already fucked. I mean, your conscience is already fucked. So she had no chance of any sort of redemption. Like, there was no coming back for her. She completely lost her shit. And after she killed Satoko, and she's like, oh shit, Satoshi told me not to protect her, not kill her. Fuck! And then she pissed herself and started screaming. I was like, oh my God.
I was like, the madness! I was like, oh no, the madness.
Bro, I was just like, this bitch snapped like that. And you know the crazy thing? I don't even think I could call her yandering because it's not like she did it out of like. I mean, it was obsession, but it was mostly paranoia that got to her.
Mm-hmm.
It was mostly on her own paranoia that got fed into by that fucking parasite and just took it to a whole nother level. But she by far is probably the scariest person out this whole fucking show. And it makes sense with that latter scene why she was acting the way she was, because she had already killed 4 people up until that point.
Yep, she already killed 4 people because I think she like tased her grandma.
Yeah, that was all it took for her. She was already too old. Like you tased her, that was it.
Died, and then she just started hitting the grandma.
Yeah, she started whipping the corpse.
I was like, oh my god.
I felt so bad for Mion. I felt so bad for Mion.
I was like, Mion, what have you done to deserve this?
Mion didn't do shit. And when you think about it, throughout the whole show, Mion is the only person who didn't go crazy. She never hallucinated. She never did any harm to anybody except for the nail scene, but she even took her own nails as retribution for that. So out of everybody, Mion is the most, I don't want to say pure, but like she's the most innocent character out of everybody in the whole show, and she gets it the fucking worst. Like she had to watch all of her sister's crazy shit, and they get killed at the end anyway.
Gets pushed off the ledge.
She got tased off the fucking ledge. She got tased and passed out and fell on her fucking neck, and then died at the bottom of the well. I was just like, with the rest of the corpses that Mion threw down there, I was just like, this is so fucking dark.
That world was fucked the moment that teddy bear got exchanged.
Yeah, that was it. That's all it took. That moment Keiichi gave the teddy bear to Reina was all it fucking took. So, moving on from the crazy shit, because that was my favorite arc. I'm not gonna lie, that was my favorite arc. We get into Reina's craziness, and we find out what her deal is. Excuse me. So
her father was dating a honey badger. Her father was a victim of a honey badger, and it turns out Reina has like daddy issues, and she suffers from like, her mom and dad were getting divorced. Her dad was about to get scammed by a honey badger, so she decides the good idea was kill both her father's girlfriend and the pimp. Cut up their bodies, stuff them in garbage bags, and then get her friends to help bury the bodies.
Well, to be fair, she didn't get her friends to do it. Her friends volunteered. She wasn't even going to tell them. They found out.
I was like, and then they said the power of friendship. I said, these niggas are crazy. Well, Enrica was down for the cause. I was like, oh my god.
Rika was just trying to find any sort of silver lining, because Rika at that point, I don't know how many times she went through the fucking cycle, but then she was like, okay, this one might work. We might get this one to work. We just had to help her dispose of these bodies. I couldn't stop her from killing anybody, but you know what? She recognized her mistake. She wants to try and work with everybody. Let's take this and run with it. This is the best chance I've gotten since this shit started with me. I'm going to take this chance because I'm tired of dying all the fucking time. So I understood why Rika was like, you know what? Fuck it. This is the best we're going to get. I'll go with it. If y'all want to help her bury this fucking body, we'll do it. I'm fine with that. Fuck it. This is the best I'm getting. As long as I don't get disemboweled at the end. I mean, it still happens anyway, but still. And
it was like, and then like Reina just descends into madness due to the virus or due to the parasite.
Hinamizawa syndrome. Which is what we finally learned about it in this arc. We finally learned that it's nothing supernatural. It's something scientific actually going behind the scenes. There's a parasite that infects the person's brain, and it makes them extremely paranoid and hallucinate, and they start hallucinating.
It's not worms. It's a parasite that they're all infected with, and it makes them see like
crazy shit,
crazy stuff.
Like Keiichi.
And this is.
Oh, go ahead.
and this is the first. I think this is the first arc where Keiji finally realized it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I've lived other lives, and like this virus just makes you see what you want to see.
It's not even just that. It feeds into your paranoia. It's not that you want to see it. It feeds into your fear pretty much. It's like if you with him, he heard about the disembowelment thing. I mean, not the dismemberment. He heard about that, so he was already suspicious about something sketchy going on. But nobody in the village wants to talk about the shit because it's a part of their dark history. It's something. It's a freak accident that happened. Let's just try and move beyond it. We don't really want to talk about it. I mean, who really wants to talk about that shit? When nobody tells him that shit, starts feeding into him. He starts thinking like, okay, so they're obviously hiding something from me. Did they have something to do with it? Well, shit, are they going to do something to me now? And that starts, those. And then you have Oishi, the detective, who's telling him all the shit about the Sonozakis and how they're a mafia family and whatnot. And it turns out, the crazy thing is Sonozakis aren't even that bad. No, everybody thinks they are, but they're not.
Yeah, they're just like a family that really loves their town, and
they're rich as fuck. So
yeah,
he starts, all these lies start circulating in his head, and it's then that syndrome. Because he's under high stress, everything starts kicking in for him, and so he ends up. We find out that he brutally murdered. This wasn't self-defense in the slightest. He brutally murdered Reina and Mion when they came to his house to cheer him up and play a little prank on him. Because the thing with the needle, it was just him trying to mark his shirt. And we find out that was when Mion holds up the needle, it actually turns out it was a fucking marker. So,
it was a marker the whole time.
And then he snapped.
And at that moment, I was like, oh my God, it makes sense. Because that's why they didn't know that's why they were so like, what are you talking about? No one put any needles in your food.
And why they were acting emotional when he snapped on him. Because remember, Mion was like, why are you acting like this? Why are you acting so mean? And then he just like kind of told her off. And then she started crying. I'm like, what the fuck you crying for? You crazy as shit. These people are insane. And that wasn't the case. She was literally like, I don't know what the fuck I did. What did I do? I'm just trying to, what's wrong? I'm trying to be your friend.
I was like
snapping on everybody.
That's when, like, to me, this was my favorite part because it started like everything started to click.
Yeah,
like I was like, now this is all making sense.
Oh yeah, it became a much more tragic story at that point.
And I was like, it became a tragic story, but it also became a success story because this is the first arc. So Rika got the wonderful idea because she started like reading all of these.
Oh, Reina. Okay, you meant Reina.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Reina.
That's me.
Reina started reading all these conspiracy theories about the Higurashi virus.
That wasn't her fault. That was Takano. But go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Takano knew what she was doing. She planned. She was like, you're about to fall. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this shit started.
Yeah, she needed an excuse, and Rina was a good excuse.
Yeah.
So she takes the whole class hostage, sets a gasoline bomb, and holds it ransom until, like, I think she wanted to get, like, the detective to look into, like, the deaths of who?
I don't remember exactly because I watched this like 2 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah, she holds the whole classroom hostage, so it's up to Keiji and Rika to convince Reina.
Crazy ass Reina, mind you, who was beating the shit out of Mion at this point.
With a bat, she put a bicycle lock around Mion's neck, and then she just takes her giant meat cleaver and started beating her with the head of. I was like, oh my god!
And Mion's just sitting there taking. I'm like, this girl has done nothing wrong to any of you, and she always gets fucked up. I was like, what the fuck?
The worst punishments. The worst.
Like, she is the only one who didn't kill anybody, and she gets fucked up every time.
and then the arc ends by like everyone learning that the maggots that Rina is actually looking at isn't real. Like,
no, she's freaking out.
She's just freaking out, and like Keiji has to take his bat of justice against Rina's meat cleaver of punishment, and they just duke it out on the roof of the school, and everyone's looking at him like, what is happening here?
Well, Reina was having delusions at this point, and everything at this point was just crazy as shit. That's all I know. That's all I knew. But I know. Go ahead.
Reina gets Reina loses
No,
because
Keiji loses.
Oh yeah, Keiji loses, and Reina confesses her. She remembers, confesses her love.
Well, she doesn't remember, but she just kind of realizes, like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, confesses her love for Keiji, and like she goes to jail, and everyone dies in the village.
Well, I don't even think she ended up going to jail. I think she wound up. They put her in custody because she didn't kill anybody. She did do some crazy shit, but she didn't end up killing anybody in this arc.
Reina did kill her.
Those two people, but nobody knows about them. Nobody knows about them. Because the reason why she started beating the shit out of Mion in the first place was because Mion... Well, I think this is what set her over the edge. Wasn't just the notebook that Takano gave her, but when she found out that those bodies in the mountains were moved, that they hid up there, because Mion found out about construction plans, and she was like, "Oh shit, the bodies are there. Let me go ahead, make some calls, get these bodies moved." But she didn't want to tell Reina because she didn't want to make Reina worried or anything. So she was like, she never has to know about this. Reina finds out because Takano's an asshole. And Reina's like, "Oh, so you lied to me." She's like, I mean, I was just trying to help." And she's like, no, you fucking lied to me. You were kind of friendly. I was like, somebody stop her, please. Lord, she's biting her fucking skull open.
Bashing her skull in with the butter for knife. I was like,
I can't believe she didn't lose consciousness, because I'm like, she is hitting the shit out of you. Like, and I know that shit is heavy. It's a crazy scared person hitting you with the back of a machete. I know this shit hurts, and you're bleeding like this, and you're just taking. I was like, damn, Mion, you are, between watching your sister go batshit insane, and then your close friend beating the shit out of you with a machete. And let's not forget your other friend who you have a crush on beating you to death with a bat. You should probably never remember any of this shit, because if you remember this stuff, you are going to be scared of everybody for the rest of your life. I was just like, yo. And I wonder if she ever felt like the paranoia, Mion. Because she, like I said, every character up until this point felt it.
I think
Rika.
I honestly, once we get to like season 2, I don't even know I don't know what this thing is, because it doesn't make sense for it to be a parasite. But
no, we'll talk about that.
In season So the common theme with the first season, after each arc, Rika is killed and disemboweled.
Yep, and then the whole town is killed.
And everyone in the whole town is killed or is succumbs to a quote unquote a volcanic gas leak.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole cycle. So So you would think that since this whole town is in a time loop, how will the time loop have a future? Well, in season
how does the rest of the world after?
Exactly. How does the rest of the world exist outside of this time loop? It turns out in the future, Reina comes back to the town and starts reminiscing on the things that went down in the town. And in the second season, the answer arc, that's when they start questioning there's no volcanic fault line in this town, so how can there be a gas leak? A gas leak. There was no alien invasion, but why did the government come in and seal off the swamp area? They started asking questions. The detectives all started asking questions what really happened here?
Well, because it makes sense.
None of it made sense. And I was like, this is fascinating. Because it's if you were to draw this town, you would say what happened before the 4-day murder cycle was a straight line of time. Whatever happens. But once you get to this 4-day bubble, right? The days up until the Cotton Festival, it's a flux, meaning anything can happen in this flux, and it can generate multiple futures each future can equally reminisce on the past because this town has such a flux, meaning anything can happen. So it's such a foam of events. And I thought that was fascinating. Like, this town is a nexus point for multiple futures to equally exist. And like I said, wow, this is amazing. And then, like I said before, they start explaining like the hard science, like they start explaining like what's really happening in this town. And that's when I kind of like started losing the magic and the mystery of the show, which was, it was bound to happen because I had such high expectations of the show. But like,
for me, well, let me think. I think the reason why you start feeling like less intrigued is because that you're getting some sort of closure onto all the crazy shit that has been going on. So once you get the answer, it's like it's not as compelling at this point. It's just becoming less of the mystery and more of how the character's going to get out of this situation. That's what it becomes. And that, I guess, depending on how you are as a person, I think, or what you look for in a story, affects how you're going to see the rest of it. Because I figured, like, once the mystery was pretty much solved, all we had to look forward to at this point was the characters, breaking the loop. And I was still invested in season 2 because I still, for the most part, I actually enjoy all the characters. Not typically the ones I would watch a show for, but I didn't dislike any of them really. So
I think like the only character that I was like, I literally said no to the screen was Sadako.
Satoko? Satoko. The little blonde hair girl?
Her whole stick made no sense when you look at the... Okay, we'll get to it. Like, her story arc of her, like, being, like... The reason why Sadako was so... Her disease was such an advanced level is because she already reached this mythical level 5 early on in her...
Because she was stressed, remember?
She was stressed for no reason.
What do you mean no reason?
No. Remember her childhood trauma, right?
Yeah.
She was, in her mind, she was believing that her parents, she was a burden to her parents.
Right, which created stress in her.
So she yeeted 2 grown people off a cliff.
Amen. We saw what she did to Keiichi.
I know we saw. I know what, Lonnie, I know what we saw.
I almost feel like that was something that was just, they did that for foreshadowing. Like, hey, yo, so she can really push people.
She has the strength of a full-grown woman, and she is not mentally stable.
Maybe I think that was what played part into it. Like the fact that she was mentally unstable, you get that extra oomph. Like when you're scared of something, or when fear is running through you and adrenaline is pumping, people can exude like, I don't want to say supernatural ability, but your body operates at a higher level than what it normally would. Because I remember there was a story about this kid and his dad. The dad was working under a car, and the car fell on top of the dad, and the kid, like in a moment of panic, was able to pick the car up off the dad. So like shit like that, it can happen. I don't know about her pushing 2 grown ass people over that fucking rail.
She not only pushed them off the cliff, it ripped the metal frame off the cliff. I was like, and she was like 6 years old. Like she was like 3 years old at the time.
Probably like, 6 because they were 8 in the main story.
I was like, are you kidding me?
I was gonna say those fucking bars were rusted.
I hope those bars. I hope she just like buckled somebody's knees. That's what I hope. That her parents' knees, they just buckled. and like they just tripped and fell. But even then, I was like, okay, that kind of explains why she was so like they were giving her those injections because they were trying to treat her disease from her going off of the deep end.
Well, she was pretty much on the borderline.
Yeah, she was on the borderline of disease, which the treatment of the disease is actually quite reasonable. All you have to do is just like have like 9 hours of sleep and deep breathing meditation, and you should be able to tackle this.
You need to have the shot too.
No, you don't even need the shot.
No, you do need the shot. When you already have the paranoia going on, you have to take the shot. She already had the paranoia going on, so she had to take daily shots to keep it suppressed. Yeah. And the reason her brother went the fuck out of control was because he wasn't getting no shots, but he was under the same level of stress, if not more, but it was going untreated. So when he snapped, it was nothing that they could do with the shots. They could give him the shots to sedate him pretty much, but that was about it. And that's why he was kept where he was kept, but we'll get there in a minute. And why Satoko can, roam out in the wild, because she's at risk, but she's not super at risk because of the fact that they suppressed it before she lost her shit.
Yeah. And she also has like this mental disability of like, what was it? The way Rika explained it, it was like she is gullible, right? So you tell her, like, I don't know how she explained it. Like she said, like, so say for instance, like I think this is how she explained it. So say for instance, like you see a dot on the wall, right? Like in your mind, right, it's just a dot, but to her, it could be anything. It could be a bee, it could be a cockroach. That's her disease.
Well, yeah, she sees things differently. And what you see and what she sees are two completely different things. She sees what she wants to see pretty much. It's like, if my abusive uncle was there, my abusive uncle was there. So it makes sense now why remember when Keiichi thought he killed the uncle, which he really did. He killed the shit out of him. And Satoko was still getting her ass whooped. It wasn't so much that she was getting her ass whooped. It was like she saw her uncle still beating her ass. And to her brain, she was getting her ass whooped. So her body showed the physical symptoms of her getting her ass whooped. She could have been throwing herself into a wall for all we know. But to her, it was her uncle beating her ass.
Yeah. So that would explain why, like, during the earlier seasons, like, Keiji was so crazy. Like, I know I killed him.
No, he did. And that's why everybody was like, yeah, just calm down. We know you did. But she doesn't know that. And she's not going to believe that. She believes her uncle's still beating her ass. That's why everybody's like, why are you being so... Why? That's why they kind of got mad at him when he was like, I killed your uncle, though. He's fucking gone. He's not coming back. And they got mad at him because he didn't understand what her brain was like. Nobody told him that Satoko sees things differently than everybody else. She's not normal in the head.
She has a slight disability. And it kind of explains why she's so hell-bent. And I do know, like, it explains, so we also get to explain why does, like, as soon as her uncle gets back into her life, why was she so, like, hell-bent on, like, living with her uncle and doing her uncle's bidding? Because her uncle is extremely abusive and she is not happy. But it turns out, like, she believes that as long as she stays in that house, like, her brother will return.
Yeah.
And, like...
It's because her head works different. That's how her head works. That's how her head operates. It's like, if I suffer through this, then I'll be absolved of my sin of, over depending on my brother and stressing him the fuck out and running him away. He'll come back to me because now I'm stronger. Not knowing that, no, you're just fucking yourself more by.
Which, after watching this, like, a lot of, women who are, physically abused by their spouses, they go through the same thing. Like, they are, what would be like, they are conditioned to go through this abuse because they believe, like, oh, if I succumb to my spouse's abuse, I'm weak. I don't deserve to have, like, this luxury or this house. I think it's called, like, either Munchausen syndrome.
Are you talking about Stockholm syndrome? Well, that's not Stockholm.
Exactly.
But Stockholm is when you fall in love with, like, your captor.
Oh,
I mean, I guess in a way it's like that, but I know what you're talking about. It's another name for it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like, and I, taking time to think about it, it's like, oh, this perfectly makes sense because, you always hear the stories of like these women always going back to their abusive boyfriends or abusive husbands, right? And we all know, like, if she goes back to him, the guy will kill him
or just beat her ass.
Exactly. You can't get involved because they can't see the faults in the situation. But like this whole arc was like the first arc where like we get revealed of like the secret organization.
No. We skipped that. We skipped all the way to the second arc of season 2, where we learn more about Satoko and her disability.
Yeah, because
the arc that you're talking about, we do get Satoko, but like I said, this first arc is Rika and Satoko, and Rika pretty much succumbing to depression because she can't win. She keeps getting killed, and she's just like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. None of this is ever going to work out anyway. And Satoko's trying to help her. So that's what we skipped over. But let's talk about this real quick. Let's talk about this first arc real quick before we finish up Satoko's second arc. This is 2 through 5. Like I said, Rika is pretty much giving up because, there's no helping her getting killed. She's always going to die. Eventually, Satoko's persistence, and then she remembers, not Satoko's persistence plus Keiichi's ability to slightly alter fate by making different decisions because he's learning from previous worlds. You might not remember, but those experiences stick with him somehow. The same with the rest of them. Everybody starts doing things slightly different. And she's like, wait a second. We can work through this. There's a way to work through this. So after she realized that, it's already too late because that group that's after her as Takano's people.
Yeah, the secret organization, Tokyo,
yeah. They come, they take Rika, they disembowel her. Satoko runs, she winds up in a coma, and they come to finish Satoko because Satoko saw the truth. At the same time, though, Reina also sees the truth in this world too. She was in the mountains with Satoko, but they weren't near each other. Satoko only saw Reina. Reina ends up getting killed too. But let's talk about the revelation of what Orishiro's curse is.
Oh, the war crime episode where they literally taped people in.
Well, I'm not talking about the war crime episode. I'm just talking about in general the curse. What the curse really is.
Okay, the curse. So it turns out the curse is a parasite that infects the citizens of the town
because it was in the water.
It was in the water. And Rika is like this queen bee. That's what they explain it as. And
she's pretty much the queen. Like
she produces. So Rika produces a hormone.
Yeah.
That represses the symptoms of the parasite, and also has the benefit of causing the people to actually treat her with respect and dignity. They treat her to be nice
because they see her as the queen. Because it's like a colony of ants. It's the same thing pretty much, and it makes it finally explains why people aren't allowed to leave the town, the village, once they're there. Because you're there, and
you're infected. Yeah,
you're infected at this point. You can't leave, otherwise you're going to start seeing the symptoms. We saw that with Reina because Reina left. She left. She went to Tokyo for a bit. Was it Tokyo that she went to? I can't remember.
It was Tokyo.
Okay, yeah.
It was Tokyo.
So she went there. She stood there long enough. She was all right. She had her pills and everything that the village had given her before they left. She had her pills. Her mom told her to take the pills. She said, "No, fuck that, mom. You're a piece of shit." So she stopped taking those fucking pills. And once she stopped taking those pills, she started seeing shit. And when she started seeing shit, she starts thinking in her head is Orishimo's curse because that's all she knew. She's like, "Oh, you're not supposed to leave that village." And now I'm suspect to the curse, but she didn't think about it like that at the time. It was more so she just knew what she knew, and she starts stressing out because of her parents' divorce. Which honestly, divorced parents are just as bad on kids as it is for the parents, especially if it's a bad divorce, which that one seemed like it was. So she starts stressing the fuck out. She starts freaking the fuck out, and then they end up moving back. So she starts calming down again, but she believes That it was all, or she was cursed.
It was a curse, and it actually shows like this show, like I think I said in the previous podcast, that this show gives like it's like a really good painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first episode you get 5 minutes to look at the painting, and each episode you get another 5 minutes to look at the painting. And the more you look at the painting, the more you can pick out from the background, the trees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, we learned that Rika had a very violent past. She went through a very violent, a very traumatic divorce.
Not
tried
Raina,
to take her life.
You mean Raina?
Yeah, Raina. Raina tried to take her own life.
I don't think she tried to take her own life, did she? I thought she was just more so depressed that she was cutting her wrist.
No, she tried to kill herself. Though.
Did she?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because she thought her paranoia was so bad. She was like, if I'm cursed, I'm not going to go out like this. So she started like cutting her wrist and stuff like that.
Right, but if she was going to kill herself, she would have cut along the tracks, not across. Everybody knows this. If you're trying to kill yourself, you cut down.
She's a teenager.
Even teenagers should know that. I mean, okay, yeah. We'll roll with it.
And and I think in the next couple of arcs we learn about Keiichi's past, and he is
well, that was in the previous. That was in season 1 when we learned about him.
Yeah, because I kind of it's like because it turns out the reason why he moved to the town is because he was harassing
children.
I think he was shooting BBs at little girls.
Yeah, what the fuck was with that? Why was he doing that?
They don't even know. Like he was shooting BB guns at children, at little girls.
For what though? Like I never understood. Was it because he was being bullied?
Well, the way his mind works by like he can like figure out. He's highly intelligent.
No, I remember that.
But it's like the way he explained, like the way the detective explained it, or the way that Raina explained it, was like. So he was just like.
No, it wasn't Raina.
No, who was it? Was the detective, right?
How did we learn about his fucking past? Was it through Rika?
It was through Rika, I think. And like, he was like one step away from being a school shooter.
Yeah, seems like it.
He finally got like a fresh start when he came to the town.
Yeah, and he can make friends because everybody wasn't being an asshole to him because he was, too smart or some shit.
Like he was not making friends, and like,
well, he couldn't. I mean, I don't know if it was because they were acting like assholes to him or because he just didn't feel connected to him.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have no idea, but either way, yeah, he wasn't making friends where he was, so it fed into his own depression, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he started acting the fuck out, so they was like, you know what? We're just gonna go to this town. Surely nothing bad will happen here. Of course. Lo and behold.
And like, so getting back to like the second season, so after like that first arc, we learn of the war crime. We learn of the secret organization Tokyo, and like the spirit of Higurashi, the great god. What was it?
Urashiro?
What's her name? Urashiro.
You talk about the noise she makes. Yeah. I will say one thing I liked about the show. Like, I mean, not one thing I liked, but what I found really interesting about this show, and this just plays into life in general, where there's always a legend or a myth or something. And there's always some sort of truth behind it, but it's never as
dark and grim as you think it is.
Well, not even just that. It's not always as supernatural as people believe it to be, or want it to be. I guess. Like I liked it with this.
All myth and legends have a certain grain of truth.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like, but there's always something scientific behind it that can explain exactly what the fuck it was or is. And in this case, it was like this was a prime example of it. It's like you have a curse that there is an actual curse, but it's not due to a god or anything. It was literally a fucking parasite, something that could be solved with science. Mind you, it wasn't easy to even find out about the thing, but it shows that, there's a scientific explanation behind pretty much everything. There's a scientific explanation behind pretty much everything. And I found that really, like, I was like, oh shit, that's what I found really interesting about it. When we found out what was actually going on, it wasn't a demon or anything. It wasn't. It was still something simple, but it wasn't so simple as to say like, oh no, there really are demons and shit. And this really was a clan of demons. No, it wasn't. You people just got infected with some shit, and it just passed down through generation to generation. From
generation to generation, and the explanation became more and more spectacular as the distance between the first event becomes greater and greater and greater. The stories become more bombastic.
Well, yeah, and then you find out even with the curse, like the other part of the curse, not just the leaving and then punishment thing. It's the deaths. They were all orchestrated by another human. It wasn't a god. Yeah. It wasn't a god's wrath or vengeance or anything like that. It was literally another human behind the scenes trying to push her own agenda. That was the result of the other deaths. So everything could be explained by science or just human. It was all a human. Everything behind what was going on in the show was all human, minus the time loop, which was due to a god. That was the only thing that had something supernatural.
Oh, even like, like all this could be explained if you just sit down and look at the data. You can explain all this shit. You just gotta sit down and look at it.
Except time loop. You cannot explain that with any sort of data.
Well, that's never, the time loop is never really explained.
No, because that's the only supernatural part of this whole show.
Yeah. And after the first two arcs, again, you get introduced to the god. Okay. I have words about this Oroshiro.
AKA Hanyu.
Hanyu! Yeah. Hanyu is the most useless thing I have ever seen. Hanyu is 500 years old. Hanyu doesn't know how to do anything. It is what is an appropriate allegory for Hanyu? What is it? It is that toy dog that you buy. It looks cute, it barks, but it doesn't really like serve a function other than consuming resources.
Oh my god!
And like annoying the shit out of your guests.
Okay, so to be fair with Hanyu, she did do something. It's not like she didn't do anything. She was the one who stopped the death of Rika in the first place. She created a loop. She's the one who started the loop to hopefully save her reincarnation.
I doubt that.
And the town.
I still doubt that because
wait, well, why? How do you doubt that?
I don't even know because she doesn't even know the mechanics of this loop. She was surprised that the loop actually, the time scales for the loop changes from time to time. Like
she wasn't surprised. She was the one who had the answers for it. She was the one who explained to Rika. She explained to Rika like, oh, well, shit. Turns out we have a limit to this shit. Who the fuck knew? That was the only time she didn't know something about the time loop, but she knew that she was the one who imposed the time loop in the first place in order to save Rika and everybody else. She was the one who had the answers for Rika, like, okay, so what time period am I in now? You're back here in 1980, blah, blah, blah. She could answer those certain questions for her.
But she couldn't answer like basic questions like, what are they thinking? Or like, could you do some surveillance?
Well, no, because she's not omnipotent.
Stupid. I was like,
how is it stupid?
I was like, bro, this spirit shows up when I don't need it. Like when Rika was having a conversation with like her family, the spirit could have went to the other room, took notes, and reported back to Rika on like, okay, you should do this, that, and the third. Like the spirit is fine.
Yeah, true. She could have been a spy.
The spirit is 500 years old, plus the 100 years that they have been in this time loop.
Not a thing.
Like it's like you're telling me that the spirit couldn't learn skills, and even with Rika, all right? When you find out that Rika has been in this time loop for 100 years, right? You would think that Rika had learned how to set up like trap and like learn negotiating skills or like, you know, plan B's and plan C's about like not getting kidnapped. Like you would think like, you know, she would learn something from these time loops. But she did, but like it's explained like Rika's memory from time loop to time loop isn't perfect. Like she forgets stuff.
Well, so you would there had to be some try to trade off.
But you would think that the spirit would fill her in each time loop. Like this happened. The spirit did. This happened. No, how? That happened. The spirit only became active once we learned who was the main cause behind all the deaths.
No, but up until that point, the one who was telling Rika what was going on was the spirit. Like how Rika knew which time period she was in and which events were probably going to happen in this loop was the spirit, the one who remembered most of it.
And the spirit couldn't give no helpful details. All she can do is complain, bitch, and moan about, oh, woe is Rika, and make noise. Like, and what had me, and this is skipping way in the future, when Tako threw that coin in that box.
Oh, Takano,
she threw that coin in the box.
And Hanyu slapped it away?
And no, she not only slapped, she grabbed it out the air and threw it back at Tanko. I was like, are you kidding me? The spirit could move shit this whole time?
I think she could only have like a small effect on things. I don't know how it works.
No. If she can move that coin, she can move anything.
No, bullshit. No, how you gonna say if she can move a coin? The only way she would be able to move anything is if she moved her whole fucking shrine. If she moved her shrine, then I'm like, okay, she can move anything. But I think she can only have like a physical effect on things at the shrine.
And then, when she made herself real, I was like, you could have done this in the beginning. Like, now, you made Rika look crazy.
Again.
Because Rika couldn't, like, mentally communicate with the spirit. No, she had to talk to the spirit, and the spirit had to make herself invisible to everyone else in the room. So Rika basically had to look crazy this whole time. I was like, I hate this stupid spirit. She made everything more difficult than it needed to be.
I don't know the rule behind that whole coming into the physical world thing. Because I don't know if there were certain conditions that need to be made or something. I have no idea how she even showed up in the first place.
I was like, yo, like my mind is racing. My mind was racing as soon as like that coin started moving. I was like, wait a minute. If you could move that coin, I know it's just a coin. I know it is. But it's an object that she can affect, right? She could have a minute effect on objects and things in that world. Like, it's like you could, like, she could divert bullets, or like she could like move things. Like, I don't know. It's like she's 500 years old, dog. You would think she would use that like simple effect to her advantage in order to move events to a certain outcome.
Again, I don't know how much control she has over the physical world. I think she only could do something about the coin because of the fact that it was at her shrine.
But
I think then, only at her shrine she could probably have a physical effect on things because that's her place of power, pretty much.
But even then, she made herself.
I still don't know how she did that. I don't know what the rule was behind that and how she was able to do that all of a sudden. Because I was just like, wait, how did you?
100 years of cycles and trials and tribulations. Now
you become physical.
You become physical. I would have strangled her. You left me alone to deal with this madness, and you could have been here.
She wasn't alone. She was there. She was watching. Honestly, I have no idea if maybe Again, I have to look into that because I meant to look that up because I looked up some stuff because some things weren't all the way explained. That was the one thing I didn't even bother to look up was how she was able to become physical. I feel like maybe who's to say what would happen to her if she were killed in that form? Would she just vanish?
She would cease to exist, and I'm assuming if Hanyu is the main power source behind the time loops would end.
So if that's the case, I don't know if that's the case. This is my speculation. If she were to materialize in order to try and help Rika through any of those other timelines and ends up dying next to Rika, then that would have been it. So probably the reason why she never became physical was to ensure that the time loop would go. But I think the reason she did it in the final one, the reason why she became physical in the final one was because of the fact that, okay, she had already determined this is going to be our last time. This is our last chance. So I'm going to do everything I can to help you. So maybe that's why she decided to become physical in that world was in order, because, you know, like I said, if she dies here, she's gone for good, which it wouldn't matter because the loops were over after this one, according to what they thought. That the loops would end after this. At this one, this was their last chance. So we're throwing everything into it this time. I think that might be the only reason. I don't know. That's just a speculation. I have no idea. I think that sounds plausible.
Lonnie, I was screaming at that once Hanyu became a thing in the show. I was screaming. I was literally screaming at the screen.
I mean, I was like, Hanyu didn't really bother me.
I hate useless characters in a show.
But she wasn't useless. She was the time loop. She was literally the person who started the loop.
I was like,
without her, they all would have died.
At the time of the show, like when she was being introduced, I was like, I didn't know her for significance, but like it was like, oh my god, she just makes noises. Like the god gets hungry. I was like, it gets hungry?
I think what it was, because again, I think it has to play into the. Well, yeah, Rika is literally her reincarnation. Sounds like what I was thinking. I thought that's what they said, that she was the reincarnation of Oroshiro, which was Hanyu. So I would assume that anything Rika feels, Hanyu would be able to feel and experience as well.
And in terms of like Rika,
since they're the same person.
Yeah, so in terms of like Rika is like, and like what I found with Rika, I found her fascinating because I was like, she was so jaded at this time. Like she was like basically she was a grown woman in the body of a little girl.
Well, yeah.
So she was basically every night she was like drinking some wine looking at the moon.
I thought it was juice at first. I was like, is that juice? And it was like, no, that's fucking wine. No, when I saw the bottle, I was like, oh no, she's getting drunk.
Like she was like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna die here today. Well,
I don't blame her.
Nice bottle.
You live for 100 years. You live for 100 years, and you die all the time, and you have to live through the same. Month? You had to live through the same month over and over and over. No, not the same month. My bad, because she goes all the way back to her birth. So you live all the way up to the age of 8, and you always die on the same fucking night. I'd be You know what? I'd be like, you're a grown ass woman at this point. I'm gonna be drinking too. Fuck it. I don't care. Y'all can't tell me shit. I'm older than everybody. And she was. She technically was older than everybody.
And like she was just drinking wine. You know, she was lamenting on her past failures. Like, well, I guess I'm gonna die here again.
Well, I mean, you die about like 6-7 times. You're like, you know what? I don't know if I can fix this. I was like, shit, I might just be stuck like this. I don't blame her. I honestly. The two characters that I don't blame for much of anything are Rika and Mion. Because again, Mion was the most. I don't know if she was the most innocent, but she was definitely out of everybody else the one who did the least amount of dirt. She did the least amount of dirt. But get back into the show itself.
And then we introduce Tonko's. We flesh out Tonko's story. Tanako.
Yeah, this is the Tanako. We flesh out Tanako's story at the latter half of Satoko's abusive uncle arc, where everybody, when the fucking village finally decides to be like, you know what, let's stop, shunning this child who had nothing to do with what happened like 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Let's stop being a dick to this child.
Let's actually help her. Let's stop trying to treat her like a fucking Jinjuruki in this bitch. Because she needs help, clearly, and she's one of our own. So let's actually help her. And so they finally banded together, and this is where Rika's like, oh, we really can change fate. Great, cool.
Yeah.
And then we learn about Tanako and her dirt, and we find out that she was the main person behind everything that's been happening in the fucking village. Outside of the syndrome. Outside of the actual Hinamizawa syndrome, which was there before.
Okay. Her whole plot line.
Oh, and real quick. That fucking laugh at the end of the second arc, her laugh, that shrill, high-pitched laugh. Oh, God. That was horrible. I was like, oh my Jesus, my ears. That shit like, was the... Oh.
Well, the war crimes, it just... she was so hell-bent on achieving her goals. She literally butchered a whole town.
Yeah, just to get her away.
I was like, the whole premise of like using this parasite as a weapon does not make sense. It does not make sense.
Biochemical warfare. Why does that make? How does that make?
Let me explain. Number one, they don't know this parasite. They don't know how this parasite is transmitted. Two, they don't know if this parasite actually exists because it is explained in the modern era that even an electron microscope cannot detect this parasite.
Okay, so I feel like in the show they were able to find it though.
No, they were never in the show. They had theories. Like they so they
were working off a theory.
The parasite, it acted like a parasite, but it was so small, or it cannot be it cannot be so what was the rules? It could not be harvested from dead tissue.
Right.
And it was so small that it could not be detected by an electron microscope.
Right.
And like they didn't know how Rika worked. They knew that Rika was like a quote unquote queen bee, but they didn't know how it worked.
Right.
So who's to say like there was no... What my theory is, if you couldn't see it with an electron microscope, and Lonnie, I guarantee you can see viral particles with an electron microscope. I'm talking about bacteriophages that land on the cellular membrane of E. coli cells, which are in turn smaller than human cells, right? If an electron microscope could not see this damn thing, then it does not exist.
You can't say that though. You can't say that because of the fact that people do exude some sort of symptom of this syndrome. Now, whether or not it's the actual parasite is up to debate, but the fact of the matter is, we know it's not something supernatural though. We know it's not supernatural.
I know. I understand it's not supernatural, but I understand it's not a parasite. I think it's based. I think it is either a genetic disorder that is it is a genetic disorder that is heightened in this town, because it explains why certain people who have spent long days in this town don't succumb to the paranoia. Like the detective, right? He spent time in this town, but in each arc, he is never under like the
he doesn't hallucinate.
He doesn't hallucinate, right? And like it explains like why they can't actually see this damn thing with an electron microscope. And Lonnie, It is an
No,
electron
but
microscope.
it can't be genetic. Because think about it. Remember the construction site incident? That wasn't the villagers that dismembered that guy. That was his own employees. Those were the workers that dismembered him.
But like I don't know. Maybe my logical mind is like, the show is a sweater, and I see a string, and I'm pulling the string apart. I'm pulling a thread, and the show's starting to come undone. Because like, okay,
I don't agree.
Getting back to the biological weapon aspect of it, okay? So you basically have to like expose your soldiers to like this virus and Queen Bee. And then you
Not
have
your
to
soldiers. No.
Or like, we don't even know how the Queen Bee is like transmitted from like generation to generation. Because who's to say like the
Takano's thing wasn't to start wars with that. You know that, right?
she was going to use it to control populations.
It wasn't even so much of controlling populations. She was trying to prove pretty much human.
Her grandfather.
No. Not her grandfather, yes, but to prove human belief, religion, things of that nature. She was like, this all stems from this syndrome. That's what she was trying to prove. Was that go ahead. What did you say?
That the wholesome total of all humanity's experiences and paranoias, fears, religions, all of it, it is due to this virus.
It's linked to this virus, yeah. Whatever the fuck it was, yeah. Because I can understand why you say it's not a parasite, because of the fact that, yeah, a parasite would definitely be able to be visible, considering I would assume it's bigger than certain molecular structures.
Yeah,
it has to be.
It has to, because like how like,
but
it's like DNA has like a limit. Like, how is it like interacting with like the brain if it's no bigger like than like an atom?
But
like,
but let's say this real quick, because remember there was this thread on this in the first episode of season 2, where the spaceship that crashed into that lake. What if that was legit? What if it is an alien parasite? Then it could be smaller than what our telescopes could pick up. If it's an alien parasite, it could be. If it's legitimately an alien parasite, it could in fact be smaller than what our telescopes can pick up. Especially in the 80s or whenever they used it, the 80s, right? Was it the 80s?
Yeah,
70s?
but even like her whole theory of like,
I'm not saying it's not a crapshoot. It's still a crapshoot, but that would explain why our telescopes can't pick it up and why it can still be considered a parasite, because of the fact that it definitely infects a mind. It affects your mind, and it lives in you as a whole. It lives in you and your host, and it's trying to keep you alive, but at the same time, it's still gonna fuck your shit up. It's not going to try and drive you to death, because it needs you to survive as well. Hence the reason why it's like, oh, here's the queen, let's treat her good so she doesn't make us go crazy. Because I like living too, But
even then, it's like, I don't know how like Tokyo could have used this as a weapon.
I don't think that wasn't their play. Remember, Tokyo, the organization, they said that was their guys. They wanted to overthrow the current party. That was their whole deal. They were just using this as like their political power play, pretty much. It's like, hey, we discovered this fucking whatever the fuck this was. This gives us an excuse to, because they were going to use the disaster of Hinamizawa. Because remember, the previous regime, previous party, their opposing party wanted to keep that whole thing under wraps, because this is going to incite, panic in society. So Takano's Tokyo's thing was, okay, so let's take this syndrome that they've known about. This party knows about this shit, and we're going to use this to our advantage. We're going to have them have a full-blown fucking meltdown in this village and have them kill everybody so we can blame it on this party over here because they tried to cover this shit up, and now look what happened. We have all these dead bodies. This is all their fault. You should put us back in power. That's what their play was.
So they're basically trying to utilize Tonko's stupid idea of like this virus.
They were using her. That was the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
They played on her desperation to prove her grandfather grandfather's research
correct
was correct.
Which I think, the whole premise of like this virus being like this virus, parasite, whatever it is.
I think it makes more sense to call it a virus. I mean, I get it in the sense of it being a parasite, but only if it's like an alien substance. If it's like something that's on our planet, like this was always on our planet, then I'd say it's more of a virus than anything. Yeah, but it still doesn't make sense because a virus doesn't have a queen bee.
Exactly, like it has to be some sort of alien life. It has to be some sort of alien life form.
It has to
be.
But
anyway, it's like, it being like the source of like all of, group thought, mob mentality. That doesn't make sense because I
think it's an interesting theory though. I think it's really interesting. And it's like a really interesting way to explain it.
Like certain people have like this ability to, the reason why certain people have this ability to communicate to people is because they produce like this mysterious hormone to calm the virus. And then when like the queen bee quote unquote dies, like these people go crazy
because the pheromone's not being released anymore. There's nothing to sedate them anymore.
Yeah,
and it's but like, even now we're dead because there's no queen.
But even then, it's like, it's an interesting theory, but like I just need more. It's an interesting theory, but it's too what's a good word? It's too it's too good to be true, right?
Well, it's not even so much of it being too good to be true. I get it. Yeah, it's more so.
It
not
needs
enough fact
evidence.
Exactly. Fact and evidence isn't supporting this thesis or whatever the fuck they call it.
Exactly. Like if you're gonna come out with like this outlandish claim, this big ass claim,
we need
like you gotta have some big ass,
some hard ass data.
Exactly. Because like that's the reason why, like that's kind of the reason why those guys like kind of laughed at her grandpa.
Yeah, because it was a good book. It was a great book. But like, where's the theory? Where's the logic in reasoning and you have no supporting data? Basically, that's all it boiled down to.
Exactly.
There's nothing here to support your claims.
Exactly. Like I think that's what they tried to hammer home. Like, dog, like this is a good book, but like, sir, like you do know, like you need evidence. Like, where's the pathogen? Like, where is like the how does this work? Like, if like if this pathogen is so commonplace in humanity, why hasn't anyone actually like discovered it? Or like, how can you prove it exists? Like this isn't like air. Air actually has like chemical properties. Like this virus, its disease is so minute. It is the treatments for the disease and the disease itself is so flimsy. Like, how do you know that people just didn't succumb to like a mental breakdown? Like, you can't like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't like pin this on a virus.
You can't say that. You can't just say it's this magical parasite that came from fucking space without proving that it's a magical parasite that came from fucking space. And there's no evidence to prove that there's no evidence to prove that there was an alien on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I get it though, but the grandfather himself said, like, yeah, I know it's a crapshoot, but I don't have the same resources and connections that you people have. I'm just asking for a chance from you all to invest into this with like help me to further my research, because I think there is something here. That's all I can go off of though. I can only go off of my limited resources and what I can theorize. Yeah.
So basically, he came up with a proposal.
Yeah.
And his proposal was shot down.
Pretty much.
But even then, like, I think those guys in the room, I think they kind of overreacted.
They did. They were assholes about it. And to a certain extent, I feel like to a certain extent, because I feel like because we get later on when Takano was faced with the same issue, when they started laughing at her, I feel like they thought there was some credibility behind it, but I think there was a fear factor behind it. Because you think about it, if she continues this research and she legitimately finds that, this is real, there's an actual parasite that infects everybody, that explains why people go on these murder sprees, or explains why you look up at a full moon, and a full moon, there's more violence under a full moon than there is any other night of the year, or something like that. They look at stuff like that, and they're like, if this shit is real and people find out about this research, because it's going to be made public knowledge, what kind of panic would that incite? Like, you find out that your religion is a parasite that's in your fucking brain. That all the miracles you've seen in your life are ghosts and stuff. It's all a parasite. That's all like that's what I'm saying. A biological function. That incites mass panic, which leads to chaos and anarchy. And they were like, you know what? This sounds ridiculous anyway. Let's just throw this all out. Fuck her and her grandpa. We ain't funding no more of your crazy ass research. We did this. Why did they even do it in the first? Why did they fund it in the first place?
They gave her, Lonnie. They gave her. I think it was just like $1 billion.
No. That was from that guy who was the grandpa's friend. He was interested in the research, but he died. So then they were like, okay, we don't have to entertain this shit anymore. Before it gets too far. Before we get too far with this.
She had a whole She had like a whole medical facility. Like, they were studying like a whole town.
Yeah, no, she had a larger sample size then. She had a sample that she could work off of. Now she just needed to get more. What's the word? I don't want to say results, but I guess results. I don't know. She was like doing all kinds of unethical bullshit in this. But she was desperate because she knew she's holding on by a thread.
Like, she was by definition the Tuskegee. Oh god, not Tuskegee. Not Tuskegee. What is that horrible experiment?
Which one? The one where they tried sleep deprivation?
No. The one where they gave those black folks syphilis.
That was the Tuskegee one.
She was a full-blown Tuskegee scientist. She did human experimentation, and I was like, on unwilling subjects. Yeah. Subjects. I was like, this. Okay, hear me out. Okay, when you do an experiment, right, and you publish a paper, in order for people to take your paper with some sort of credibility, you have to check off certain boxes. Even in the 80s, that A, all human subjects were treated with dignity and respect and they had some sort of consent form, or B, the animals were treated with respect and dignity, right? Her research had none of those boxes checked. No. And none of her results could be reproduced.
No, not without a fucking body.
Not without a living body. And that in itself is kind of crazy.
Irie knew that though. That's why I liked it. I liked their dynamic too. The fact that Irie was the scientist that would look for cures for cancer and shit like that. That was Irie. Because
Irie was so hell bent on, like,
he was ethical. He was an ethical scientist. He was the good side of science. Takano is the very worst side of science, in my opinion.
If he would have stepped, if he didn't do it, she would do it anyway, and she would replace him.
Yeah, she was going to do it regardless. She didn't need him. Remember, he was just the mouthpiece, just to help her further the research, because he was a brilliant mind too. And she still had control over the whole operation. Honestly, I really did like the way they were foils to each other.
She had a good, she was a good villain.
Oh,
up
yeah.
to like, because no matter what the kids did, like she was always a step ahead.
Well, she's a grown ass adult that's really smart. That's,
Grown ass woman who knows her shit, who's been through some
I was just
shit.
about to say who's been through some shit. Let's not forget that because we didn't even talk about her past yet. We mostly talked about her research and shit.
Yeah, in summary, her past, like she grew up in an orphanage because her parents died in an accident.
Yeah,
so the
accident.
government sent her to like this orphanage where like it was a goddamn meat grinder for children.
That shit was ridiculous. I'm like, I am so glad I had my parents growing up because if I had to be in that fucked up situation,
I would have become a monster.
I don't, and that's why I was like, I can't even blame her for the way she became, but I can because of the fact that she got so many lifelines that so many other people did not get.
Yeah,
she was completely pulled out of it. She could have been the best. She could have made something of herself instead of becoming like an evil asshole. She had every opportunity. Like even when she was in that fucking phone booth, and she was like, "Fuck, I don't even have anything to call anybody with." A magical coin shows up right there for you.
A coin just shows up. I'm like, okay, I think God, and she literally started screaming at God like, either you kill me or you bring me out of this stupid situation.
And then he missed. He's like, I just thought about that. I was like, imagine God over this guy. She's like, fuck, I missed. God damn it. God, Jesus, get me out of the boat. Get me out of the boat. Ah, shit, she's running. Damn it. I just had to help her now.
I'm like, I know she's gone through some shit, but like the balls for a child of 6.
She was angry. I get it. No, I understood that 100%. She was angry. But the fact that she got lifelines like that out of nowhere after she asked for them, like, okay, lost a bet, so that means you have to help me now. Shit, you're right. Here's your fucking coin. Call this asshole up so you get the fuck out of here. And everything worked out for her. And I was like, and then you still end up becoming an asshole? What the fuck? I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, you need to be taken care of.
My last question on her past, once they did that escape from that orphanage.
Oh, they said somebody's gonna get caught. They just better hope it's not you.
What do you think they were doing? What do you think those grown ass men were doing to those kids?
They did anything they wanted.
Because it sounded like they were grinding one of those kids up.
Anything they wanted because nobody was there to stop them, and the kids damn sure couldn't stop them. I was like, when they took her back and they took her to that room, and it was that nigga that she bit his finger, broke his, like, I don't know if she bit it off or just bro. And she was like, "Oh shit! Oh my fucking good! I'm sorry. I am so fucking sorry." I was like, "No, that's too late." He was like, "Oh no, I wanted your ass." And he took her in that room. I'm like, "Oh, she's done. This is it."
I could not imagine what was he about to do to her in that bathroom.
David, I was like, this is about to go really dark really fast. I'm so glad that phone call came in. I was like, holy shit. I didn't know because I was like,
you know what? I was surprised that that his cronies stopped him.
I thought they would have let it rock, but no, they was like, no, there was a phone call. I guess because they didn't want her to have so much damage on her before they sent her back. Because, if they sent her back and the grandpa was like, what the fuck did you do to her? I'm suing all this. Oh, this shit is gone. Like, they wanted to make sure she was as unblemished as possible. I mean, at that point, she was already pretty fucked up, and the grandpa should have already known that. But if they really did something to her, like did more damage, he probably would have pressed some fucking charges. Man, he was probably like, at that point, it wasn't worth it, and she's fine. Let's just go. I'm getting you out of here. Let's just go. All
I got to say, she went through a goddamn meat grinder.
Bro, that shit sucked. I was like, this is, and when I saw it, I was like, this is how you make villains. This is 100% how you make a villain. But it was the fact that she got out of it. 100%. It was the fact that she got out of it and she was far removed from it. Like, she got a warm house, somebody who cared about her legitimately, who gave her a start,
inspiration,
fed her mind. And she goes on to go to like one of the top universities in Japan and has all these accolades, and then she still ends up becoming an asshole. I was just like, fuck you, Takano. I was like, really, just fuck you.
I was like, you didn't have to do any of this. You could have become a professor or like a head in like, industry. Like, you could have been anything. You chose to be this genocidal asshole.
Yeah, she chose that. She chose that. I was just like, yeah.
And that's getting to like the end. So,
well, yeah, after you get her flashback, then we get back to the very beginning, which is the end, pretty much.
Yeah, and this is where like everything starts working out magically. Like,
well, not quite yet, because we still had the very beginning where we find out Satoshi legitimately did kill his aunt, and he ended up disappearing. We find out why Rika's parents died. We find out the person behind the curse was Takano. This is where we find this all out.
We find out that
asshole.
Go ahead. We found out that the mafia the mafia family didn't kill the construction worker.
No,
it was the construction workers' employees that were drinking on the job. They succumbed to the disease.
They didn't succumb to it. He succumbed to the disease. He started freaking the fuck. No, because Takano injected him with some shit. That's what happened. That's right.
Oh,
that's right.
Yep.
But then, that's the thing. Takano injected him with some shit and sent. Did she inject him?
I don't even know.
I can't remember. But he started freaking the fuck out from the syndrome. He freaked out. They panicked and they killed him. And then one asshole out of that group was like, "We need to dismember this body." He had a moment of craziness where he actually was suffering from the syndrome. Mm-hmm. Now he for sure I know wasn't injected. I think the construction headmaster, whatever the fuck you call it, the headman of the construction site. I think he was injected. He was infected by Takano. He freaked out. Mm. He went into the town to cause stress, I believe. I think that was her point, was to have something stressful happen to these people, to have them set them off, because she wasn't getting anything at the time. Mm. The guy who was with the other construction workers who killed the headman, I think he legitimately started freaking out, having the syndrome kick off, which is why he became the live body that Takano needed in order to further the research. Because Irie didn't want to, because Satoko at this point was the only person, and Irie's like, "I'm not about to kill a fucking child. You miss me all that shit."
And this started the legend of like one person end up dying and one person end up being disappeared or demoned away.
Well, yeah, that's when it started. Yeah, because she needed an excuse to hide the bodies that she was snatching up.
And this explains why the detective was so invested with this town, and why the detective suspected that the
Sonozakis
were responsible for the murders because of the dam project.
Yeah. So
like, after everything unravels, like, Keiji becomes a leader of men, and I started rooting for Keiji, like, Keiji, leader of men.
What do they call him? Oh, fuck it. It's something K. I can't remember.
Oh, it's just called him K.
Oh, it was
K-sama.
Yeah, okay. So they just
K-sama.
Yeah, he was just K. We go through all of that. We find out Satoko's brother Satoshi had a full blown freak the fuck out. Like, he had the same freak out that Keiichi had, but with the aunt, where he was like, "I know I killed that bitch. Why do I still see her? Why the fuck is she out there?" And Irie is like, "Okay, you need to calm." I don't know how he stayed calm driving that car, because like, knowing what I know, and he knows all this shit, I would have been like, "Oh shit, I need to pull this car over." Yeah, so he freaked out about Satoshi freaked out, and we finally get to the counterattack plan where Akazaka shows back up in the village again. Mm-hmm. He saved his wife.
Akazaka is like the imp man of that world. He is an unstoppable force.
I don't know when that happened. And here was one comment I have real quick before we get into these final 5 episodes. Mm. Why did they never have guns? Akazaka was a police officer from Tokyo. Why did he not have a gun? Why did Oishi and his crew not have guns? Because it seemed like the Yaka Inu or whatever the fuck they were called had guns all the time, but they never had guns. So what the fuck was up with that?
I don't know.
I always been confused, but I'm like, where are y'all guns? Like, I know Japan has really strict gun laws, but you're officers. Why don't y'all have guns? But this counterintelligence group has guns. That didn't make any sense to me. But okay. Moving on to this flat fart that is the last 5 episodes. So Akazaka shows up. They come up with their counterattack plan, like we've been saying. How everything seems to pretty much goes off without a hitch. I mean, there are some hiccups in the plan.
There are hiccups,
but ultimately, it doesn't cost the good guys anything. And then the bad guys suddenly become really fucking stupid. Yama Inu, that's what they're called. The Yama Inu. They suddenly become really, really stupid. Like, I mean, really, really, really like stupid to the point that they took 2 people hostage. They take 2 people hostage. Mind you, at this point, they have all the cards now. Rika,
they have all the leverage.
All the leverage. They have no weapons. They're at the bottom of a fucking well. I mean, yeah, they could run, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you run. We can find you. It's a trained group of counterintelligence military folk against children. 3 8-year-olds. My bad, because Hanyu's there. 3 8-year-olds. Yeah. And 3 teenagers who have no weapons.
One of them has a machete,
but she's not going to use it because she's not crazy. She's not the crazy Reina. If she was crazy Reina, okay, maybe. She's not. None of them are the crazy ones. They're all normal. They're normal people now. They're not crazy. They're not the crazy killers that we saw in season 1. You have all this leverage.
And they basically, those kids do a one big ass Home Alone.
Oh no, not don't get there yet. Don't get here because I needed to say something about this. When they trade Rika for Shion and Kasai, which by the way, Kasai is like one of my favorite characters. I love that dude. The big dude in the suit that's always with Shion. I like
when he came out with that shotgun.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't change this life. He put the fear of God in that.
I ain't playing no fucking games with you. You know who I am? I was like, oh shit. But when Rika when she trades herself for Shion and Kasai, and she's about to get put to sleep, when Akazaka shows up like fucking Batman and starts beating the shit out of all of them, in my immediate head, I'm like, didn't y'all just have guns? What the fuck is happening? I was like, when did Akazaka become Batman, and when did y'all forget your guns? I'm like, shoot him. I'm like, I want him to win, but shoot him. You had guns all this time. You shot all these people up until this point. Like, I go back to the previous timelines where like the one just before this one, where it looked like everything was finally gonna work out for once. And what the fuck? How you say his name? The detective and the other guy that was with the detective with him. Whatever. The 2 detectives, they saw that guy snipping those bolts at the fucking gate to that power plant, and they come over there and they get sniped. Like, what the fuck happened to y'all guns? Up to this point, y'all been shooting everybody in the fucking face.
Where are the guns? I'm so confused. I'm confused.
That made no sense to me. And then he fought the leader of the Yama Inu like head up, and the dude punched him in his chest, and he's like, oh, that's a light punch, and he punched through the fucking car. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, Akazaka, you got your ass whooped by these guys in one of the timelines. When the fuck did you get all these martial arts skills in a fucking steel body?
What is this? When did he become? When did the great training arc happen?
And that's what I was like. When did you become this dude? Like, this makes no sense. These dudes are the same ones who beat the shit out of you and Oshio, or I forgot how to say his name. I can't believe I forgot how to say this nigga's name. But they beat the shit out of y'all 2-on-2. Beat the shit out of y'all. Pistol whip y'all. And then all of a sudden, you beat 10 of them. You beat 10 of them who forgot how to use their guns. I was like,
when he punched through that van,
bro, I lost my shit at that moment.
That's not a punch.
Yo,
I was like, what is happening?
I lost my suspension of disbelief at that moment. All of it was gone. I was like, okay, well, The show was very believable up until this point, and now I don't. Now I'm completely.
He scared that guy. He didn't kill.
Yeah, that's something. He scared the guy to the point he ran off in his car and pulled off. I'm like, you have guns! Shoot him! Shoot him! You don't have to fight. Shoot him!
The guns are in the vans, dog.
No, they had them before. Remember, because they had a catch. Because Shion and Kasai got into a gunfight with them. Remember, they got into a gunfight.
They knocked out the two people they were shooting at.
That's the other thing. They knocked them out. They knocked the hell. I was like, when I saw the bullet stop, I'm like, oh, they really killed them? Oh shit. No, they're like, oh, we have your friends. I'm like, you have them? They're alive? I couldn't believe it.
Oh, and they were actually alive. I was like, oh my god,
I could not believe it. I could not believe it.
Wow.
At that whole sequence of events,
these stone cold killers who had the balls to like kill children, whole town, kill children, put them in rooms, duct tape them, and like gas them,
and then shoot whoever got out. I was like, you telling me these cold blooded ass motherfuckers out of buttfuck nowhere ended up becoming pacifists?
Honorable soldiers.
Yeah, honorable. They're gonna fight fists. They're gonna do fist fights. They're not gonna kill. Like,
these stone cold killers. These Death Watch guards.
Elite counterintelligence people.
These Death Watch guards.
Bro, and then it only got worse. Because of the fact that we get to fucking to the Home Alone scene that you were talking about. I'm like, what is happening? They're in the woods. This should be y'all playground, and you're getting outsmarted by an 8-year-old who set up some traps. A club leader who's the next, mind you, she is the head of a clan, but still, she's working with.
She's 16.
I know, but no, she's 14 actually. She's working with 5 other children, and you're telling me this? You respect her as a general, nigga? If you don't pull your pistol out and shoot her in the fucking forehead, and he had a gun, because remember when he was gonna kill Tsukano, but he was like, no, I'm not gonna kill you, and he started shooting at her feet. He had a gun the whole time, and he didn't shoot her right there. I'm like, yo, one, they're right in front of you. Shoot both, shoot all of them. They're kids. They have nothing.
This is my town. Ready to see hell? Come on in. We got
I was disgusted.
Boy, they took over the whole communication network.
Yes. And then those trained soldiers, those trained counterintelligence soldiers are freaking the fuck out.
Them simple ass traps did the trick.
Bro, I saw a man get run over by a fucking log. I was like, oh my God.
When did they set up this log? And like,
I'm not even gonna question the trap setup or anything. I'm questioning the trained military group of grown ass men that got outsmarted by a bunch of children to the point where they gave up. I'm like, huh? Y'all lost?
These stone cold killers, Lonnie. These I keep calling them Death Watch guards because they literally killed women and children for no reason.
They did, and that's what I'm saying. You're telling me these savages who killed children without any sort of remorse, no questioning, nothing, who followed their order to kill these children and these women and these men and old elderly without any sort of conscience behind it, all of a sudden get home alone in a forest.
I was thinking, the more I thought, I was like, there's no way these Death Watch guards, these stone cold killers, like, they would ever lose, like, I don't know, maybe, okay, Lonnie, maybe because they were in the town for so long that their paranoia, because they were exposed to the disease, their paranoia was kicking in.
But it's not the town. Remember, it's just that village. There's a town next to it. There's a town next to the village, but the town people don't suffer from the curse. No, not the curse, the syndrome. It's just the people in the village who suffer from it.
I guess I don't know.
It was like, just, I feel
like again, like the way you explain it, like these Death Watch guards, these trained bastards.
Yeah, yes.
There's no way they could ever lose
No.
to the strategies. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is like a Vietnam America allegory.
No,
How
it's
can
not.
America
No.
possibly lose to
That's
Vietnam?
different. That is so much different because okay, you can say this is their mountain. They have they have strategic. They have home field advantage, just like the Viet Cong did. But like, they were armed with guns and grenades and shit, and booby traps that kill people. They didn't have booby traps that kill people. They just had traps made by an 8-year-old who should have mildly convenienced them at best. No, I'm seeing niggas get rolled over by fucking logs, and you're telling me they're out the picture for good, like they're dead or something. No, you don't stay unconscious, but for so like you don't stay nobody stays unconscious, but for so long. Like if you get knocked the fuck out in a boxing ring, you get up after like the next the fucking 2 minutes. You might be a little dazed, but you're back in the fight. Like what? I couldn't believe any of what I saw.
They get up and say, wow, that was wild and crazy. All right, let's check this out.
Let's go kill these kids. Exactly. That's what it should have been. Oh shit! And they fall over a log. Oh damn! Oh, scuff my knee. You all right? Yeah. I just bruised my knee a little bit. Let me put this clip back in his gun.
Let's
go kill these damn kids, man. I was just like, what the fuck? And then fucking Mion, with the fucking, she had a gun the whole time. She never used it.
I don't think that gun's real.
It's not. It's probably like an airsoft gun or some shit. But even then, she didn't even pull it out when they were the first time when they were in the forest and they were really getting killed by. And that's the other thing. This happened before when they were in the forest and they got killed. They literally got killed by everybody. They killed everybody like it should have been. Those soldiers killed everybody the first time.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you.
She didn't even pull out the airsoft gun at all.
When Brumman fell down that hole, that's when I knew. Oh, right, this is gonna be some bullshit. I can understand.
Man, like I said, I knew it was bullshit once we hit that fucking scene where Akazaka shows up. I know when they shot at them, we got in that gunfight, and Shion and Kasai didn't get killed in that moment. I was like, okay, all right, no, I'll let this slide. It's when Akazaka showed up and Batman them niggas, and then nobody shot him. I was like, okay, I know where this is about to go. When he punched through that fucking van door, I was just like, all right, so they're all superheroes now. Okay, this is where we're going with this.
Cannot do wrong.
The villains are stupid. The villains have become dumb. Now they all have plot armor now. That's what when the Akazaka scene happened, I was like, plot armor. It's full effect. Nothing is gonna touch them. Nothing is gonna touch them now.
Get rolled over by logs.
Bro, I saw that nigga.
Wild.
Bro.
That was wild, yo. Right.
That nigga, there was a nigga literally going down the hill and a log was on top of him. I was like, what is happening?
Oh, that was wild. Get caught by the lead trap? Yeah, dog, I got caught by that lead trap. Anyway, let's go kill these kids.
Telling me 50 trained counterintelligence government officials could not stand up to the mighty mind of a 14-year-old and her 5 subordinates that are also children. 3 of them are 8. And only one of them made the fucking traps.
One made the traps. I was like, dog.
I mean, I guess they all pitched in to make the traps, but still, even it doesn't fucking matter. The forest is a big ass place. You telling me they ran into them traps? Really? They had all that time to set up all those traps, and they still ran into them as big as the forest is? And then you telling me one of them sees somebody get caught in a trap, and then 5 more of them decide to get caught in the same trap? No fucking way. No fucking way. Get out of here. Miss me with all of this shit. I was like, this is the absolute worst.
I'm surprised. Like as soon as like one of the traps hit, I'm surprised one of the soldiers to pull a grenade and just like lob a grenade.
Bro, that's what they should have did. Start shooting at the trees or something. Like, what does it matter if you miss? You're just trying to kill them anyway. Who cares? Are you trying to catch them and kill them? Whatever the fuck. I was like,
man, if they would have had that napalm and just start burning the floor,
it was like, dumb.
Oh, what are these traps?
Well, I get they weren't trying to kill Rika at the time because they were trying to still capture her. But then, and then you had this real group of badasses show up. the Bonkin or whatever fuck.
Bonkin.
Benkin. When the Benkin show up, then they're oh shit, we can't fight them. They're real soldiers. I'm like, okay, that makes sense, but like
we're the Stone Cold Killers are counterintelligence. They are the real soldiers.
Which that made sense to me, but at the same time, I'm like,
how much more badass can they be?
You're not gonna try and fight this. I mean, up until this point, you just lost to a bunch of kids. Yeah, you know, he lost to a bunch of teenagers. Okay, I guess so. Yeah, I wouldn't fight either. I wouldn't fight either. When the real niggas show up and I just lost to a bunch of teenagers, I'm like, okay, you know what? Yeah, we're done. I surrender. And then we get to the scene with home dude. What's his name? Shit. The leader of the Yamu, you know, in the forest with Takano, and he's supposed to, you know, clean up the loose ends, and he doesn't. He lets her go. I'm like,
yeah, man, he gives her a gun. He gives her a gun
with a single bullet.
One bullet. I'm like, dog.
Yeah, now kill yourself.
You actually gave her a gun with a. What's stopping her from pulling a bullet in your head?
Well, the thing was, I feel like he probably would have been a quicker shot. He's still trained. You know, up until this. I'm trying, man. I'm really trying.
But
up until this point, he was a trained military professional.
I would have said, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're right."
I mean,
done.
He could have. He could. I guess she. Here's the thing: if she killed him, where's she going from there? I guess that's what it was. He was just like, "You're not gonna shoot me. Even if you shoot me, there's nowhere for you to go." So he gives her a gun to shoot herself, and you know, steps on the research and shit. She starts, you know, freaking out and shit. I started to feel sorry for her for a little bit, just for a little bit. I started to feel sorry for her.
Oh yeah, I did too. But then I memorized she laughed at the deaths of innocent children and
parents.
And women.
Yeah, and then I was just like, okay, you know, and then she quickly reminded me that no, that's right, she's a bitch. When she pulled up on the kids and she pulled the gun out, and she's like, you know what? Yeah, everything failed, but I can at least kill you. I was like, wow, the pettiness. You got spared so many fucking times, and you still just find it in you to ruin somebody else's life. Okay, all right, Takano. And then you fucking missed. I'm like, and she's like, I missed from this range? I'm like, oh my God.
She started bugging out like, how's that possible? It was at this range. How did I miss
this plot?
How could I? That plot, man.
That plot armor.
Well, when that plot armor takes an effect,
man, there's nothing. There's nothing.
You could be point blank range.
You know,
miss.
It would have made sense if it was the god's influence that had effect on it. But she was just as surprised. And when that bullet whizzed by her fucking ear, she's like, oh shit, she missed? Holy fuck, I thought I was about to die. I was like, you didn't put any sweat on that bullet?
I thought the gun had misfired. No.
She missed.
She missed. I would have said, get the fuck out of here. I'm playing the lottery right now.
Bro.
Right now.
And you're telling me this was all due to the power of friendship.
Man, the power of friendship can miss me. These are stone cold bastards who killed the whole town.
There is no amount of belief in the fucking world. Well, you know, maybe that's the point of the show. I don't fucking know. Either way, I did not like the way that shit ended.
That's like SEAL Team 6 goes to the Home Alone house and just fails to kill the little kid.
Pretty much.
They just all succumb to his stupid little tricks in the business house.
Pretty much. Oh my God. I was just like, man.
Wow, hey man, did you get hit by the law? Yeah, I got hit by that law. Anyway, click, let's go kill the kids.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, they do not knock you out for a day. You do not get knocked out for a day. Like, that does not happen. That was one of the things I liked about Daredevil. I know I'm going off topic real quick. Daredevil, the Netflix show. I like that he didn't just knock those people out. They got back up. Like, they got back up to fight some more. And he was like, he really had to put them the fuck down to you know, move on. They kept getting. I remember the fucking second season when he fought in that fucking apartment building, and them niggas would just not drop, and he had to keep dropping them. I'm like, yeah, this is how it goes. You don't just get knocked out for a fucking day off of one knockout. You got to get really knocked the fuck out before you stay down. You're telling me these motherfuckers, all of them got knocked the fuck out? There's no, that's not possible. It's not fucking possible.
Stone Cold Bastards was coming to
Bro,
the power of friendship.
this was fairy tale levels of power of friendship. I was like, holy shit. What happened? How did you do this?
These little kids literally read the first couple chapters of The Art of War and said, all right, we got this.
I guess. I was just, it would have made more sense if this worked out for them if they were in their crazed states. Because if they were in their syndrome states, then okay, I give them a fair chance because they were fucking deadly in those states, especially Shion's crazy ass. But none of them were like that.
That goddamn taser.
Yeah. Between Shion and fucking Reina, they would have ran house on them niggas. But none of them were like that. They were all normal. They were not in their paranoid state. I'm like, no, this doesn't work like this. This should not work like this. But you know what? It's whatever. I'm okay with it. Overall.
And then homegirl, what's her name? Takano. She didn't get like any major punishment.
I don't know what happened with her.
She got a happy ending. I'm like, what is this nonsense?
I was like, after all the dirt she did, like, let's not forget in this world, she still killed Rika's parents. Mm-hmm. She still killed that construction worker. Technically,
butchered him.
Technically.
He actually had it the worst because he was alive as they dissected him.
Well, I mean, she didn't do it, but if it wasn't for her influence, it wouldn't have happened. So yeah, she didn't kill Tomoyaki this time, but still, either way, she killed some random person that they fucking hung up in the fucking forest and then dropped in a barrel and burned it. That person still died. Who the fuck that was?
That was the aunt. That was Rika's
Satoko's aunt?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's where they got that body. Okay. Yeah, well, either way, she still did all that dirt.
Not Satoko's aunt. It was the honey badger.
That's right. I always forgot about her. Yep, that's right.
That was her body they put in that barrel.
She was so unimportant to me. Like, she only mattered in reading the story. And after that, I forgot all about that scene where they rode up on her in that fucking apartment building. I completely forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie. I gotten so fucking thrown off by the bullshit. I just wanted it to be over. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed the show all the way up until this point.
And I was like, the god had like, she had like the red eyes, so she was pissed. I was like, okay.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I thought
now we're about to see like, I thought like she was about to get struck by lightning, or like she was about to get stuck in her own time loop that she had to learn how to get.
Yeah, or she's about to freak the fuck, or yeah, like some Inazami type shit with Itachi did to Kabuto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I would have
until
done.
she changed her ways.
Exactly. I was like, okay. What this time loop showed me is that these people have flawed backgrounds. I'm about to do that, but you're about to have a 30-year time loop.
Until you fix yourself.
Until
you're
you
be stuck in this hell of you failing. Of your failure.
And I'm not going to help you.
No, you're not going to have any help. You're going to figure this shit out for yourself. Honestly, when I first saw her with those fucking red eyes, I'm like, oh shit, she about to do some shit. I was like, she actually looked savage. She looked cool when she had the red eyes, and then nothing happened. I was just like,
she started talking about, daughter of man.
I'm like, she getting real now? She playing a godhood? A godhood is
we using the big words. Daughter of man, how dare you? I said,
hold on.
Oh,
yeah.
So she really is a god. She saw some annoying child making noises.
I was like, you about to get dead? All right, let's go.
Oh. What? It's nothing happened?
Nothing happened.
Anyu is now a fixture of everyone's life?
No, Hanyu disappears after the Cotton Drifting Festival.
No. Anyu's still a thing.
No, I said Hanyu disappears after the Cotton. She's still there, but she's not there physically anymore.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Oh wait, no, she was. Yes, she was because she woke up. I forgot. She was
in Rika's bed.
What was up with that? Because I thought Hanyu herself said after Cotton Drifting Festival, I'm going to disappear. I was like, okay, but yeah, she was. I remember I was surprised that she was still there.
Anyu is real. She is a real little girl.
That's not how that
works.
She's
Rika's sister.
That's not how that's supposed to work. That's reincarnation. That's the other thing. Aren't you a reincarnation? Y'all can't exist in the same.
Stone cold bastards lost to some teenagers. Anything's possible now. Anything is possible.
Bro, fuck those last 5 episodes. I'm pretty sure. Overall, the show wasn't bad, and honestly, the 5 episodes they weren't.
They were not deal breakers.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's not enough for me to be like, no, nobody should ever watch this. Nobody should ever watch this. I still like the show. I still enjoyed it. It's just those 5 episodes were the worst out of the whole entire show.
This is my town. What?
Just everything. It just went too perfectly. I wouldn't have minded if nobody died. It's just it had to make more sense than what it did. It was just felt like they ran through the shit. They just made things work so we could finish the show. And that's why I'm like, I feel like the visual novel probably did it a lot better.
A much more fleshed out story.
It explained a lot more how they managed to get out of this without dying and solved all their problems in the end.
I'm telling you, when that Home Alone music started playing, London, that's when I knew all hope was lost.
I told you, for me, it was Akazaka showing up like Batman. That was it. I was like, yep, this is how we're about to do this.
Yep.
Nobody's dying. And I'm like, even the good guys didn't kill anybody. They didn't kill any of the bad guys. I'm like, they have fucking guns. You need to put them down. Especially with the gas thing. Like, if I'm the dude in the gas chamber, I mean, not the gas chamber, but I had my gas mask on, and I know that whole room is about to be gas and solved all my problems in like 17 seconds. That nigga with the shotgun pointing at my face, I'm like, nigga, you ain't gonna do shit, because if you kill me, ain't nobody gonna cut the gas off. So I have all the leverage here. You can either die now,
or die. It's like, all you had to do just, like, he could yell and scream all he wants. Like, all right.
You ain't pulling the trigger, nigga.
My bro back there got a gun. He got a gas mask on.
Right.
We all about to go down anyway.
He should have made an example. He should have shot him in his he should have blew his fucking kneecap off or something. And be like, I'm gonna kill you next. Like, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, you're right. Let me think. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Let me pull this fucking lever. But they didn't kill not a single person. And I'm like, that's not possible. Everybody in this bitch has a gun, and y'all didn't kill anybody? Get the fuck out of here. You telling me you got to jump on all of them? No. They knew you were there. That's the crazy thing too. They all knew you were there. And then Shion gets to see her Satoshi put up in that fucking bed, and she's crying over him and shit. I'm like, you knew him for an hour, and I don't think he liked you very much, if I'm gonna be honest. I don't think he liked
minutes,
you
y'all. 5. I'm telling you.
Because the way you threw his fucking sister, I don't think he took too kindly to that shit.
Boy,
and you tried to beat her to death with that chair. Yeah.
Did that even happen? Like like.
Well, okay. I don't think those events happened. Yeah, you're right. I don't think those events happened. But still.
I don't know.
Still.
It was.
I think, real quick, another funny scene with the crazy Shion bit was when she hemmed up Rika and she slapped the shit out of her and threw her on the ground. I don't know if you remember. That was a really quick scene. But it was Rika talking about she wanted to forgive Keiichi and Shion for because Shion was posing as Mion at the time, and she was talking to Rika about how Keiichi and Shion went into the shrine, and she believed they should be punished for it or whatever, and Rika was like, no, I want to forgive them. I don't think they were sorry for what they did, so I don't think they have to be punished anymore. And then Shion at this point had already done some dirt. She had killed her fucking grandma and shit. So she was like, no, fuck that. They should all die. And then she hemmed up Rika and then slapped the shit out of her and threw her on the ground. That shit was fucking hilarious. She hit her 3 good times. She said, boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh shit. And then she threw her on the floor. I was like, oh my God.
Get the what? She get the skinny paps.
Yes, bro. Yo, the skinny paps. Bro, she hit her 3 good times. She said, boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh shit. And then she threw her on the ground. I was like, yo, Shion is a fucking savage. Shion was fucking savage for that.
Boy, I tell you, man, I'm sorry, Lottie.
There's some good moments.
Nothing will beat that ladder scene because it comes out of nowhere.
Oh, well, no. But you know where it comes from now. She was fucking crazy. She had killed 4 people.
We all know where it comes from. But from episode 4,
it didn't make any sense.
And the dub. Oh my God!
Oh, I can only imagine how it wasn't a dub.
She looks so stiff, and they just put all the frames.
All the frames for that shit.
She started shaking that ladder.
He's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yo, Casey was like, whoa. He got that ladder on his hands and knees.
Bro.
Question all of life.
I will say, this show has some of the best moments I've ever seen.
Woo!
They never get, they're timeless moments. That's for damn sure.
When Mia was thinking about Keiji, and she was saying, he's such a goddamn idiot. Like, what? I'm about to kill him, and he's out here talking this slick shit. What the fuck is he doing? So she was basically talking shit the whole time as she was like, as Keiji was having a mental breakdown. I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious.
Oh, you mean Shion?
Yeah. When she was pretending to be Mion.
Yeah.
And she was just basically talking shit the whole time.
No, I know what you're talking about. You know the fucked up part though, right? Like I said earlier, she is Mion. Shion is Mion. And Mion is Shion. Who we knew as Mion in the first place was actually Shion. And who we thought was Shion is actually Mion. Because they switched names when they were kids.
So it doesn't really matter. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I know, right? You finally understood what I was saying.
So it doesn't really even matter, like, who's the head of the family.
No,
like,
they can't tell.
No one can really tell. Even then, like, they could just, like, if they get tired of being the head of the family, like, we just switch places.
That's what they were doing. That's what the fuck they were doing. They would switch in between each other. I was just like, nobody knew. None of the family knew.
None of the family would ever know.
No.
Like,
because in Mion, who we knew as Shion, she was like, it's not fair that one of us has to be the head and the other one can have fun. So let's switch. And the younger one, who was Shion, who was Mion, but is actually Shion, was like, oh, sure, yeah. Because it makes sense too. Did you ever recognize that the one who we thought was Shion acted more like the older sister than Mion, who we thought was the older sister?
Mm-hmm.
That's because they switched. Shion was Mion, who was the older sister, and Mion was Shion, who was the younger twin.
It was like, after all, it's like, it's like, you have twins. It's like, I don't feel like taking the test today. You study for it? Yeah, I study for it. All right, let's switch.
Pretty much. And that's what they were doing. I was just like, that's crazy. That was the biggest mindfuck to me. Because I'm like, it was already fucking confusing enough because they kept switching between each other. And then I feel like Shion started, Mion, whatever. We're going to call her, Shion is the crazy one. Mion is the normal one. That's what we're going to call him from now on. Because that's how they were identified in the show. But Shion, crazy one. She even started identifying herself legitimately as Mion because she legitimately was fucking Mion. I was just like, oh my fuck. My fucking head. Oh man.
This is why twins are dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Identical twins can basically, like, it would be a nice story to have, like, two heads of the family, and, like, like, when shit gets too tough, like, the twins switch out.
But that's technically what they were doing.
So it's like, I was like, this is ridiculous. But overall, the show's pretty good.
The OVA.
What? I didn't watch it. Okay. What happened in the OVA?
So there was one thing that was never really. Well, first off, there's 2 episodes in OVA that don't really matter at all.
Mm-hmm.
They were just more so comedy episodes, but they were pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, especially to see the characters, finally relax after all the bullshit. It was crazy to see Takano there, but I was like, okay, whatever. But there's one arc. It's called the Die Killing chapter, and it's basically Rika has become very. So you finally beat death, and you know that you can reincarnate whenever or go back in time and fix problems and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of gets a lot more risky with her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up, like, they're riding down the hill after they come back from the pool or whatever. They're riding down this hill on bicycles. And they're moving. Like, they are fucking moving. And she decides to start bumping into Toko to joke around. And Toko's like, oh, fuck, she almost loses her shit. I'm like, what are you doing? You realize how fast you're going? You can die or get seriously hurt. But Rika didn't care, and she just speeds on, and she goes around this corner, and there's a nice old semi truck right there for her, coming head on and hits her and runs her fucking face over. I was like, you wasted all of that. And then so she goes back in the loop. And she learns to kind of appreciate, the fact that life is really precious. I shouldn't bullshit because it can all be taken away. And she goes to this other Hinamizawa that's different from hers. It's a Hinamizawa where the villagers didn't fight against the dam project.
Oh my god! So it's an alternate reality.
And her parents are still alive. There's no Takano. There's no Irie. There's that facility doesn't exist. The syndrome never exists. It doesn't affect anybody. Nobody has any of the syndrome effects. There's only one scene in there that I say is worth. I mean, the whole thing is good for Rika's development because it kind of closes out her character arc. Because she never once tried to save her own parents through those loops.
I mean, she couldn't. She was too too young.
No, this arc, this OVA arc, tells that she just gave up. She never bothered because they pissed her off. Not so much that they pissed her off, but she thought they were lost causes because they were so invested in the whole Orishiro curse or whatever. And she was like, they are lost cause. There's no sense in trying to save them. She learns that maybe I could have tried to save them in this little mini arc. And it was pretty much real quick. There's this one scene because Satoko in this world is a brat because Satoshi's still there, so she never has any real character development. She isn't abused or anything, but she's a brat. She's a fucking brat. So her and Rika aren't friends in this world. They're not best friends. They're actually they're against each other in this world. They don't get along at all. Rika, there's a scene. Rika is reading a book because she's trying to figure out how to get back to her own time. It's from the shrine or whatever. So she thought she could learn something from the book. So Toko's like, "What the fuck are you reading?" So she snatches the book from her, and she starts throwing the book around and shit. She's playing games to bully Rika. Rika decides, you know what? Fuck all this. Rika picks up a chair, throws it at Satoko, and then rolls up on Satoko with another chair, and starts beating the shit out of her. I was like, yep. This is where my timeline. This is where my timeline comes from, bitch. You ain't ready for this shit. She started beating the fuck out of her with that fucking steel chair. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yep. That's the good old Higurashi right there.
When the pearly whites. When you fuck with those pearly whites, Sonny?
That was a pearly whites moment, except she didn't have anything get dirtied on her. It was just a book. She just snapped. She was like, you know what? I'm tired of this bullshit. You're pissing me off, bitch. I'm about to beat the shit out of this chair.
Every person has that snap point. Like, is a snap.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? I was reading. I didn't do anything. All right. Okay.
All right. I got something for you. Remember this chair that everybody saved you from when she almost about to bash your fucking brains in? I'm going to beat the shit out of you with it now. Bro, when Satoko got hit with that chair and she fell over, and then Rika came over with the other chair and started beating the shit out of her, and them girls in the room that helped bully her were just like, oh my god, and they all ran out. I was like, holy fucking shit.
Rika had them demon out, or
bro, I'm gonna show you after this, but yeah, she got them demon eyes. She was not playing.
I'm going to disassemble all of you.
Yes, she was not playing games anymore. I was like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, the OVA pretty much ends with it. It turns out it was Hanyu. She did get hit by the truck, but she didn't get her fucking face crushed. Hanyu was just trying to teach her, like, you need to, value the life you have now. Yeah, don't rely on these fucking time loops and shit. And also, you should appreciate your mom more because you only had one, and now she's gone, and you never even tried to help her. So
okay, Hanyu, whatever you say.
That's pretty much what the OVA was. I would say watch it if you really just want more Higurashi. but I don't think it's necessary to the story overall. It's not. I mean, the 2 comedy episodes are pretty funny, but like I said, just more so for characters. If you want to see more of the characters, that's pretty much it. Honestly, I am going to watch season 3. I guess
it doesn't make sense, right? Because like if you even at the end of season 2, Rika apparently becomes like this god of time.
Yeah, so you did watch the after credit scenes, right?
Yeah, she can go back in time, solve like
everything,
just solve it all.
Parents never died, so she doesn't become crazy.
So that basically solves everything.
Yes.
And Rika's older, so
yes.
She must have grown up.
Yes.
So I'm like, so does that mean the village does not like the timeline of the village is like? So honestly, so that means the god never like.
What I'm thinking, because we have multiple timelines, I'm thinking that it doesn't matter that Rika finally broke her loop. I think there's other Rikas. I think there's other, what we see, because I think it's hinted at like this. Keiichi and the others kind of remember their past lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're not necessarily their past lives. They're lives from another world. And Rika herself said she's world hopping. Who's to say she hasn't been world hopping? Let's say she is legitimately dying. Because remember, the world still continues.
Mm-hmm.
She dies in those worlds. All she does is world hop. But who's to say just because she broke the loop of her world doesn't mean there's other worlds where that loop is persistent. Like there's always a Rika in another world that has to solve this or fucking die. So what we saw when we saw adult Rika, that was the Rika that finally survived and got to live out her life. And she becomes some sort of god or something. Who's to say this 3rd season isn't going to play on that? Like, there's always a Rika. Yeah, you solved it in this world. But guess what? There's always going to be this world that you come back to. Something
so basically, season 3 is aiming to end the concept of the cycle.
I'm guessing, yeah. Like you got to end the whole existence of it because it's never going to stop. You lived out your life and you died an old woman, or something like that. But you still hop back. You're going to hop back here because remember how we always say, "How is ReZero going to end?" Like when Subaru finally his life finally just runs its course. What happens? Does he go all the way back to a starting point just before he dies? Or does it go all the way back to the beginning? Does he finally die? What happens? This is part of it. This is what we always were wondering. What happens when you defeat a time loop? Like, do you go all the way back to the beginning, or like, do you finally just die a natural death and stay dead? Are you always just stuck in this loop? See, that's the insanity here. Yeah. I was like, but even then, it's like I thought the time loops were like getting weaker. So like it doesn't make sense. Yes, that's the Wayne thing right there. That I'm like, that's why I kind of I don't understand. Maybe it recharges over time. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have no idea. But I'm thinking this is what we're seeing. It's just another. I'm thinking how they're going to explain it is like this. Rika in one timeline lives out her life and dies. But this other Rika in this other timeline, she saw that, but it wasn't her. Because all the worlds are linked, remember? They all remember different worlds. They all remember some shit from the other worlds. Rika remembers that from that world, but it wasn't for her. So maybe this time it is completely... I mean, I think we already said this, but it's pretty much the quest to completely obliterate this fucking timeline so I can finally fucking just die at some point. Or maybe it's just another retelling. I mean, not a retelling, but a third season is just to explain that, yeah, there's always going to be this loop, but you will die, but you're only remembering this other Rika because you're all linked. I think the third season is like, okay, this loop has been going on for at least 100 years that Rika knows about. I think the third season is just like,
basically the first 2 seasons are like a snapshot of what's been happening.
Mm-hmm.
The third season is basically a further explanation of the loop itself, or like the concept of the loop, and like what gives it power and what gives it like substance.
Well, I mean,
so basically we're seeing like we as the audience saw like 10 years out of this 100-year loop. The third season is the other 99 years or 90 years of the 90 years of the cycle.
That's a lot to put in 24 episodes. What if it's but the thing is, Hanyu is the one who created the loop, though. My thing is, what if, because I remember from what I saw in the third season, she didn't know why Rika went back either. From what I remember, she didn't know why they went back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what could have happened.
I don't know. What is Rika? Is Rika probably trying to save her parents?
No, because she would have went back further. Remember where they're at now? Their parents are already dead.
Mm.
So either something happened to future Rika that we saw in those credits. Something might have happened to her that causes them to go back. I don't know.
Or maybe that future Rika is after the third season.
I mean, that's possible too. Honestly,
but even then, it's like, Rika never died in this. Well, we never see a body. Well, we'll never confirm. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't know. We just have to watch the third season and find out where they're going with this. I honestly don't know where they're going with it. I mean, everything we said up to this point could be plausible. I think it's pretty plausible. I just don't know. But anyway, yeah, overall, the show was good. I would definitely recommend it to people.
The show was good. I can definitely see where ReZero got like some of its like inspirations from.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, if not that, it was definitely from Steins Gate too, because I believe Steins Gate is pretty much the same way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is exactly like this.
Yeah, so
well, it's not exactly like this, but it's like
no, it's similar.
It's like someone's trying to use a time loop to overcome
all the problems,
impossible odds.
Yeah. Shoot. Well, yeah. Is the third season necessary? I don't know, but if it fixes the way season 2 ended, sure. I think that's probably why they brought it back. I don't know. I feel like the visual novels probably did a much better job of tidying up the ending. And there's no more visual novels for Higurashi anyway. There are other visual novels. Because get this fucking shit. I didn't know this. There are other When They Cry series. Well, I knew this, but I didn't know they're linked.
So it's a multiverse.
It seems like it, yes. So I was like, oh shit.
So basically, let me guess. Like each character has their own time loop ability or something like that, or
I don't think. No. So there's another series called Umineko, and it's also When They Cry, but it's for a whole nother cast of characters. But they also, I don't know. I think they are stuck in a loop. I'm not sure though. I don't know, but I do know this because through my research, my little bit of research anyway, because I didn't want to spoil myself, because I'm actually gonna play the visual novel for Umineko, because I'm actually really invested in this series now. I love me a good multiverse, but Umineko proved that there's a link between these worlds because of the fact that one of the characters apparently can manifest inside characters in Higurashi, and they know the events of Higurashi. And I believe that character's name is Birkenstall or Beatrice or something. And there's a scene in the OVA where she actually manifests inside of Reina, and she explains like
Oh my God! Keep going.
Oh yeah. So she goes on to explain like the concept of human. What was it exactly? Hold up. I'm sorry. Let me think. I got to think back. It was like, because like I said, this was all the teach Rika a lesson about how humans are not gods. Rika had started to develop some sort of god complex, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. As you do in a time loop.
Yeah. Right. And she was explaining to her, like, yeah, other worlds might seem better to you.
Mm-hmm.
But for humans, we don't get to see other worlds. We see the world that is in front of us, and we're happy with that. We have to be happy with that because that's what we're getting. With a god has a choice between multiple worlds. And that's what she was explaining to Rika, because Rika, like I said, she had woken up and it was all a dream, but it wasn't a dream. That world, that other Hinamizawa that she saw, that was the perfect Hinamizawa where nobody had any problems. Keiichi never shot kids with guns, toy guns. Reina's parents never got divorced. Satoko's parents never got pushed over that fucking cliff, and she was never abused.
By the almighty push? Yes.
Yeah. Satoshi never beat the shit out of his aunt. The village didn't hate the Hojos. Everybody peacefully accepted the village to succumb to the building plans. It was all a perfect world. There was no stress, so they didn't have the syndrome kick up in them. No Takano, no Irie. And to Rika, it was like, shit, maybe I should have chosen that world, because who's to say that wouldn't have worked out better for everybody in the end? Who am I to choose that? And like I said, it was just pretty much a whole lesson on humans aren't gods. They shouldn't be able to see other worlds like that. So just be happy with what you have here. Don't worry about that other world. That was all a dream for you. And that's all it's ever going to be for you. It's not for you to understand that who's to say my decision was right or wrong. You don't have to understand that. You're a human. It doesn't matter to you. So there's that character. That character manifests herself in Reina. Because I'm like, when Reina was talking, I was like, that's not Reina. So I had to look that up. I'm like, what was with that scene? And it turns out it's some chick from another When They Cry series named Beatrice, who pretty much took over her body at that moment, or was speaking through her pretty much. I was just like, I need to go see what's up with fucking Mineko now. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next, I don't know how long. I already bought the first the questions arc for that one. So I'm like,
oh Lord,
it begins. It begins anew.
Begins.
Yeah, because I was like, I need something to hold me over until season 3 of Higurashi ends, because I think I'm gonna wait until it finishes. But yeah, so yeah, if you're really interested in the fucking Higurashi, I mean the When They Cry series, I recommend it. I definitely recommend it. If you're thinking about it, go ahead and get invested. I would probably say read the visual novels though, only because of the fact that people who read the visual novels say they're better, and I believe it, because they tend to have more detail and everything's more fleshed out. And based off of what I saw in that fucking ending, I'm sure that the visual novel did it better than the anime. And also with the anime, they say a lot of characters were kind of watered down, like Shion. Her insanity was watered down, and there was a lot more behind it than her just being crazy. I mean, she's still crazy. Don't get that.
So what we got basically was the great value crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. There was more to it. So I was like, well, fuck. I mean, I still enjoyed it. Yeah, it's still my favorite art. But I'm like, damn, I guess at some point I should read the visual novels. But I'm like, I'm not about to spend 100 hours for a story that I already know where it's going. So I'm just going to go to Omineko and get that. And then after that, there's another one called that just started in 2019. The second part of it just came out this year. What's it called? Cicadia or Ciconia, something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the new one. So yeah, I'm going to be invested in that. One of these days I'm going to finish reading Love Love too, so I can finally talk about my awakening on that.
You finally succumbed to the Mud Love madness.
Oh no, I loved it. Like, I read the first series of Mud Love. I liked it. It was a good slice of life comedy series, but apparently there's a turn where shit gets real. I was at that part. Yeah. I was just getting to that part, so I don't know anything about the real shit yet. When I tell you, every time I watch Mud Love and I saw like the aliens, once the aliens come, see, the Mud Love I saw so far isn't about aliens at all. It's just a slice of life. It's in our world pretty much. It's a romance story, literally a rom-com, a good one, mind you. But there was no speak of aliens. I'm like, do they just come out of Buffalo? How do we get here? How do we get to the shit that people could talk about that's gonna fucking leave you depressed for weeks and shit? I'm like, how does that happen? I don't understand. I'm just curious. So I'm gonna get there. But I was like, I probably should, ride this When They Cry train for a while since I'm really invested into it right now. Well, yeah, I think that's about it, right? Anything else?
Yeah, that's it. That's everything.
All right. Well, I'm gonna show David this chair scene, and then that's it for us. If you like this episode of the Kind of Anime Podcast, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and if you have thoughts on Higurashi or anything that we talked about, feel free to leave a comment, and one of us will respond, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can have a discussion about it, especially what you thought about those last 5 episodes, because I hated them.
This is my town.
It's not to the level of like how I ended up hating Game of Thrones, but
it was close.
It was really close. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I would still recommend people Game of Thrones, but just don't
watch season 8.
Don't watch
season 8 is a speculation season.
Yeah. It's the same thing with this. Like, if you're gonna get into Higurashi, probably don't watch the anime. If you like reading, by all means, read the visual novel. I mean, there's voice acting to it too, so you could just listen to it. But yeah, I can't, in good conscience, be like, yeah, it's all great. It's good, but it would have been great if it ended better. And it ended good. That's the thing. It was good, bad. It was a good, bad ending. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it a bad, good ending? A bad, good ending. There we go. It was a bad, good ending. So yeah, that was Higurashi, and that's the Kind of Anime Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Cue the music.
あなたの亡骸に土をかけるそれが禁じだ